Hey guys, what's up? What's up? Me and Trihex are here with episode 2 of the DT podcast. We need to get like a clever little intro thing so that there's like always like a thing we can say.
Yeah, we need a catch line. We need like an opening montage. But I guess we got to produce montage worthy footage, right, before we can have the montage
Yeah,
going on.
need a few
Oh, you
episodes.
know what we need?
What?
I need you getting triggered. That's what we need. Like, I need like a DT podcast flavor of you getting triggered and blowing up on someone or something, and then that becomes like the
The
thing.
meme for the show? All right. Well,
Yeah,
we need
yeah,
we need to get to the point where we're inviting guests on for that.
yeah. We gotta get there first. So humble beginnings, everyone, but it'll come there in time. You'll chat will know when the moment that should be like really spicy out of context for a potential intro. They'll know.
They'll know.
They'll blow us up about it for
Okay.
sure.
All
Like for
right.
sure.
I've got the so I actually have a topic list for us today that I actually can show on screen and all that. So today we have an exciting podcast. I'm going to say this every time, right? But
Oh,
basically, we're going to talk a little bit about Sony and Microsoft. Sony is ducking out of E3 this year for the first time in 24 years. Some rumors about a new Xbox system coming out or a Microsoft system coming out. Nothing too big there. Then we've got our big juicy stories. Tyler Barriss, I think I'm pronouncing that guy's name correctly, pled guilty to some charges. There's still like manslaughter and whatnot on the table, I think. But that was the guy that was involved in the swatting that ended up getting the one guy killed. It was totally uninvolved. We've got
yeah.
Jamel, the Chicago security guard that ended up getting killed by police. We'll talk a little bit about stream coaching. I guess there was kind of some drama related to this because trihex was or not trihex. I'm sorry, because Lyric was tweeting at Antichrist or something related to this. So. And then, there's a small story about a church or not a church, a high school in the United Kingdom that's banning expensive coats. It has to do with like a uniform code and whatnot. And then we'll take a couple questions from Reddit. And I think that's what we've got today.
Indeed. Yeah, all sounds very, very exciting. I used the word again. I use exciting. I'm sorry. I gotta put a nickel to my use generic adjective of choice here. I apologize. Gotta throw me a thesaurus here, please.
Okay. All right. Sorry. You'll get it. The first story that we've got is Sony. We need to schedule these later. These are twilight hours for me. Triax. Do you normally wake up at this time?
Uh, uh, I'm normally not live at this time. I need to do better. I find that the best strat, minor tangent here, you gotta just go live. You gotta just go live and force yourself to like get live and get accountable. Because if I sit here and prepare, I end up over preparing. Like I'm like, okay, I have to like, make breakfast and then I want to tidy up everything. I want to have everything in a pristine condition so I can then go live and have streaming and going live be the last thing I need to do today. And it always ends up getting myself caught up in getting live like 3 hours later than I plan to.
Yeah,
So
I
if
mean,
I
I
do the
agree with
opposite,
that. I just start that process at like 4 p.m. instead of 9 a.m. I guess.
yeah, that's the issue for me too. No, I'm typically not live at this time either, but it's good though. I like this call out. It forces me to like get over myself and get into it.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Okay. Well,
But yeah, the you want to
are you
want me to
fucking serious? Hold on. Fucking Greek is
oh.
trying to call me. I don't know why. It just popped up
Hey
right
mate,
in front of your face.
let me join the podcast, mate. I got some spicy drama about stream coaching. Let me come in. I'll tell you
Oh
about it. It's
man.
fantastic.
I have like I do have like a 3x camera set up. Oh man, if he would have contacted me earlier, he could have been on here. Actually, maybe I can hit him up for the next one if he wants to do
Mate,
it.
just let me in. All I want is 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. Next time, or maybe at the end of this, if Greek is actually listening, I can pull you in for the Q&A at the end. Okay, dive into it. First topics first, okay?
All right, so
Sony
there was some big
opting out of
big
E3
news this week.
2019.
Yeah, it came clear here that ESA, which is the parent association that manages E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, as you all know, is that big conference thing that happens every June in Los Angeles, or did in Atlanta a while back in the 90s here, but has since been in Los Angeles now. This is the pinnacle of all of the big game company keynotes. This is this place where all the giant news drops. This is where this is the place where you saw most notably, probably the highest notoriety currently, it's where you saw Sony in 2014, if I recall correctly, or 2013, I forget the year exactly here, where Sony dropped the $399 bomb on Xbox on Microsoft, and it was like, yeah, our thing is $100 cheaper, doesn't have a forced bundled connect thing or whatever, and unlike their console, all console players use games, or at that time or whatever, and it, like massive clout being robbed from Microsoft, and a huge power play from Sony at that point, just to not be blatantly anti-consumer greedy and whatnot. You may recall that incident happening at E3 in particular here. Well, for the first time in Sony's involvement in their 24 years of E3, they will not be at E3 2019, and that's pretty big news here. So usually what happens is like you have Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and quite a few other third-party developers all rent booth space at the Los Angeles Convention Center for E3, and it's very expensive. If you've ever been there in person, you know that the main expo floor is like pretty much comfortably 60-70% of it is those three. Like Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony get a huge booth space to show off their games for their flagship consoles and whatnot. And it's very expensive. I would imagine it's at minimum over $1 million to rent that space, because ESA charges a lot of money, because I know they can get away with that, to fund the entirety of the event. Well, all of them, where we're at now here, just to continue on this tangent here, where we're at now is the fact that this is E3 started in 1995, and this was back when the written word and gaming publications, gaming magazines were all like probably the main outlet for news source back in the 90s if you were a gamer. So E3 was kind of for game journalists, journalism, and for publishers to get the word out for investors and whatnot. It started as kind of like an investor information dump more so than for gaming news for the gaming consumers. But it kind of transitioned to being kind of that fan event over time as attendance bumped up and whatnot. But now in the modern world with the internet and just leaks being impossible to maintain and whatnot, it's gotten you've seen harder and harder the ability to maintain like keeping leaks under control. And not only that, and just in the macro picture here, why even wait for your announcement to happen at E3? That's a very congested, crowded news week. You got Capcom, Square Enix, Sega, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. I can go on here. All these gaming companies challenging each other for attention, all trying to shove themselves through the same door frame at that one time. And it's like, why compete for that news attention that week when you can, like, as you're seeing now, essentially most people are dropping their news a week early, the week of, and having the news limelight all to themselves instead of competing in the overcongestion of E3 conference week instead. So yeah, back to the thing here now. So now you guys understand all that context there. Yeah, Sony has opted out to not be at E3 2019 this year. Now, the thing about that is that was a little bit foreseen, because if you recall back, starting in 2016, Sony started their own private event called the PlayStation Experience they held in December. It was notable in 2016 because at their first PSX, they held one in 2016, 2017. At their first PSX event, if you recall, 2 Decembers ago, they did the world premiere of Last of Us Part 2, revealed that there was a sequel to one of their most anticipated and beloved games in the modern generation, or previous generation, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So
a few others too. The Death Stranding game as well, right? Was a big thing that a lot of people are looking forward to.
Okay. Yeah. And the thing is, I forecall that once I saw that Sony was like, because honestly here, if you want to, the intention here is to kind of like win E3. You want to like have like the most hype announcement and have that momentum of the unexpectedness and grandness of your event outshadow and win everyone else. That's kind of like the fanboy meta, I find, is that you want to like win E3, the hypest news. And it's kind of tough to do that whenever you're splitting your goodies across what is E3 and now your own private event. The other people didn't really do that at the time and whatnot. No, I mean, Nintendo started doing the Nintendo Directs at that point, but like Sony was like really dividing their cherries very, very thinly. And so I was confused by that tactic here. But as soon as I saw that PSX happened again in 2017, I was like, okay, this is an annual thing now, or is it an implied annual event, the PlayStation Experience. So therefore, they're trying to get out of E3 because they have to remember they're getting the same hype, the same coverage, no competition in December from other competing companies trying to do their own publication and press event and whatnot. And doesn't cost them, $1 million upfront minimum to give to ESA to be part of their E3 event. So it's just like economically, it's like it's optimized, right? You make your own event. So I kind of saw that they were trying to like get out of E3 entirely because it's like kind of a giant money dump and whatnot. And it's even further emphasized here because Activision stopped doing E3 entirely. They do their own thing now. You've seen them announce Call of Duty, the yearly Call of Duty, like Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and I forget what other Call of Duty it was. Might be confusing at this point. Whichever one it was in 2016, they both had world premiere events, if I recall correctly, here in May, as opposed to waiting for June for E3. They held that world premiere in May. Ubisoft, same thing. They did a world premiere of, I think it was Assassin's Creed Unity, was held at a world premiere event also in May of the same year. So they are choosing to do world premiere events for their flagship franchises as opposed to like saving that for E3. Again, because it's just cheaper and you get less competition on the news cycle and whatnot. So I could agree with that actually.
Have you heard? I heard that one of the reasons why Sony was thinking of passing this. I think this is a Sony spokesperson that said that they didn't really feel like they had much that they could announce here that would have even made this necessarily worth it. Have you heard any rumors of the upcoming PlayStation 5 or anything that related to that, like anything about the VR or anything?
There's a lot of juice going on right now with the whole PS5 thing. So yeah, you're right. The first thing first is why would they opt out? Or actually notably here, they already confirmed there's not going to be a PSX event this year. Because the go-to would be, they're going to not be at E3 2019, but that means they're going to like show off some big stuff for PSX this year, right? And the answer is surprisingly no. They already confirmed in September there will not be a PlayStation experience in 2018. So we had E3 2018, which showed off, literally their 4 titles: Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, what were the other 2 again? I already forgot
Death
what they were.
Stranding, and was that one of them?
No, it was 4. It was 4 games. Everyone's gonna chat's gonna know it right away here. It was 4 games that all had like they transitioned between theaters with like a thematic performance of some sort, and then it went into the gameplay.
Shadows Die Twice, The Last of Us.
That's Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, and there was a 4th game.
Neo?
Maybe it was Neo. I don't remember. It was 4 exclusives. I remember that.
It might be Neo. That was the one with the makers of Dark Souls. I think where you could like grapple around the roofs like Dark Souls, but I think you were like a samurai kind of thing. Or maybe it might have been called Never Die Twice. Wasn't that the name of it?
Maybe it was Death Stranding.
Death Stranding Shadows Die Twice or something. Yeah, I don't know, but regardless, keep going.
Regardless, but so they did their thing there, and so they didn't reveal anything crazy. Like here's our 4 upcoming titles. They're all gonna be exclusive. They're all PlayStation experiences and whatnot, etc. Kind of just jerking themselves off and whatnot. So they didn't really reveal much beyond literally just those 4 games. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of in a prime spot where they play the cards kind of close, and we don't know much going forward on the PlayStation horizon aside from literally those 4 games coming out here. So the expectation was that we would see a PSX this year, but we're not. So now this kind of gives indication here that perhaps, as you brought up here before, the rumor is that they don't have much left to show off here. There's not much going on remaining for Sony in their 8th generation of consoles with the PS4 and PS4 Pro, which gives indication that the PS5 or the next PlayStation, whatever you want to call it, are on the horizon. And what that goes into here is the rumors I've heard so far are that the PlayStation 5 will want to get revealed in 2019 at a Sony private event, not at E3 because they're not going to be attending E3, and with it coming out sometime in 2020. Speculatively, it would be quarter 4 2020 in November, like for holiday sales and whatnot. Either then or in March, because they've now seen that like kind of Nintendo kind of proved that you don't have to necessarily release in the holidays. You can release in November. I've actually, on a minor tangent here, I've really disliked this this AAA industry notion that you can only release something in the holiday for it to sell like hotcakes, I guess you want to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, I recall here GTA 4 came out in May, and that sold crazy well, right in time for the school break letting out for North American audiences. Even this upcoming January through March is going to be sick because we have like a ton of crap coming out at that point between Resident Evil 2 HD, Kingdom Hearts 3, Devil May Cry 5. I think I'm forgetting another game here too as well. But you're seeing more and more games kind of like get out of that saturated November, December window, I find. And then of course the Switch as well came out in March. So I'm actually all for, and then also Crackdown 2, I believe, came out in the summer too. It came out in June with no competition, so it was able to like destroy the sales charts when it came out in its respective year in June. So it could come out in November 2020. It could be March 2020, inspired by the Switch's sales and whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the speculation is, yeah, it will get revealed in 2019, the PS5 and the next PlayStation, and it would come out in 2020. Now, as far as like this, again, this is all rumor. There's no citation here whatsoever here. But the speculation is that the PS5 is going to be quote unquote a monster. It's gonna squash the Xbox One X. It's going to be very, very very future proof from what I understand, and it's built from the ground up to be able to handle VR very, very well. And on that note, it's also supposed to have there's going to be a second generation of PlayStation VR included here, where it's going to supposedly will be wireless. You know, no longer have the wires, no longer have that complicated 5x HDMI bundle box setup that it has before. And the PS5 may be a very premium thing, might be upwards of $500, which I'm hoping that this is kind of like not true. I do find that as a consumer, whenever you go above 400 on consumer electronics, you're in a very different spectrum of income. Like that's a big commitment, I would say at that point.
Didn't all the I know that inflation and everything has changed it, but didn't like the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo 64, weren't those all like 250 to 350? Were they even at 400 or more? Or like even the Xbox original?
You know what? And you're right. To be fair, the PS1 came out at $300, and that definitely was, if you convert the 1995 inflation for whatever it is now, it's a lot, no doubt.
But I think there's like a psychological thing there about spending, right? Because you remember spending $300 on a console. Like, yeah, the PlayStation 2 debuted at $300, which in today's dollars is probably a lot more than $300. It's probably getting up to that $400 or $500 range, but yeah, it probably feels bad, man.
Yeah, psychology, I think definitely is a price tag point right there to consider. And also that the economy was debatably better back than the 90s in general, right? Because like, you know, we complain now about how games are $60, debatably. You know, you're seeing this a lot in the consumer space here, that I'm paying $60 for a game, and you know, I'm really wanting to know my hours per dollar spent entertainment ratio, right? Like, is this game a 10-hour game, 60-hour game? And obviously, you know, I hate that. I hate that because it kind of like oversimplifies like the experience of like what you want out of gaming, when it's purely like a, you know, hours, you know, min max on the dollar spent for hours entertained. And that's kind of why you're seeing these symptoms of bloated open world gameness now.
And it also super like screws over certain, like favors certain genres like really well, where you can take like pile of shit games like DayZ, and technically, you know, like you can easily put 100 hours into that game, even if it's a buggy disaster, at $20 or whatever they sell the beta or alpha for. Whereas like a AAA RPG and whatever that's like super well produced, voice acting, CGI, scripted scenes and everything is going to cost you way more to make. And, you know, maybe you get 20 to 40 hours. 40 hours even is a decent amount of playtime now, I think, for a non-open world RPG these days. So yeah, the dollars per hour, I think, is a pretty bad metric, or an unfair metric to hold some games up to, just because it favors certain genres so hard.
Not only that, too, if you compare it across the mediums of entertainment here, you know, no one's sitting here asking how many pages, you know, Harry Potter 1 was versus Harry Potter 7. Well, I'm sure Harry Potter 7's, you know, way longer, but like, you know, you're not questioning, you know, how long's a movie. You know, this movie's only 90 minutes long, it's not 120 minutes long. Pass, you know. So you're not seeing, you know, this like length X money spent thing. You know, those are all the experience, I would say. And then for gaming, it's just an unfair thing right here. But that aside now, yeah, no, you're right though, because gaming, I recall here that cartridges were very, very expensive. I recall SNES titles were upwards of $55, sometimes $65 if it had like if it required like a custom expanded memory cartridge and whatnot. I recall Mario Kart 64 being like upwards of $65 back in the 90s for that thing as well. Like games weren't cheap back then either. Things got standardized now, but things certainly weren't, I would say, cheapper for their time back in the gap.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's
I mean,
interesting that things
economy,
are still $60 now, and the games are costing way and way more to produce too. Like the budgets for these things today are massive compared to what they used to be.
Yeah, you're not kidding there. Yeah, they're pulling the what's the word here? The blockbuster strat now. I find that's definitely a unsustainable model, I think, long term with the AAA development trends you're seeing now, where the whole like we have to, you know, match this $200 million budget game with a $250 million advertising budget. If you're seeing with games like Destiny, and you're seeing with what other games have a massive I don't know, Call of Duty for sure as well.
Yeah, like, but this is where microtransactions, everything step into, right? Like
yeah. In order for it to I mean, okay, notably here, I'll give you an example here. The Tomb Raider 2013 reboot from Square Enix, if I recall correctly, that did manage to move just shy of 5 million units sold or shipped worldwide, and it was considered a failure for Square Enix on there, because like Like when the game released, and then Square Enix's next shareholder meeting, they have to share revenue and units sold and whatnot. They admitted it missed the mark. They were expecting more than 5 million. 5 million was a failure. They needed, I don't know if the number was like 6.6 to 7 million units sold worldwide, but it didn't meet that number. And it's like, wow, the budgets of modern gaming now, it's kind of crazy that if you hit 5 million, you're not even like, you expected more than that. Like you're doubling down so hard on so much investment now. And of course, it's kind of like a pyramid, right? Metaphorically, the more you sink in, the less risk you can take, because it's all a questionable expense, right? Like,
Yeah.
can we go for an adventurous daring thing whenever we have this much money on the line?
Mhm.
Probably not. So you end up doing like this more safe, tame thing, and that's why you may have seen some frustrations from some people about like the direction. Again, those open world bloated games are really going at this point.
Yeah.
But back to the I'm sorry, we got a little bit off track here. I apologize. Back to the point here though. Yeah, so the right now the speculation is that the PS5 is going to be a monster, possibly $500 price tag. Be built
To expand on that a little bit, did you see the Reddit account of that one guy? I think Ruthenic Cookie.
Yeah, the guy who predicted the
Yeah, the guy
a day early. He said that someone's not going to be at E3 2019. Correct?
Yeah, and a lot of people were giving him shit in the thread, and then it ended up being true. Yeah, this guy has leaked a lot of information. Supposedly, he said the $500 price tag you talked about, the fact that it's going to have supposedly a Ryzen 8 core chip for the PS5, saying that devs already have like dev kits and everything in hand. What you mentioned about in-housing the VR and everything, that's going to be like part of the unit and everything as well. Interesting to see that people are still taking VR as seriously as they are too. I guess people are still hoping that's going
to. I agree with that actually. I find that a little bit questionable. But yeah, there was that, and there was one more thing about that too, though. I just had it, I already forgot it here. He said all that, and I just forgot it. I'm sorry. But yeah, there was where's I going to go with that? I don't remember. But yeah, the VR2 supposedly will also have, similar to the Oculus Touch, it's going to have like, this is like massive rumor, no citation here, but the VR2 for PlayStation would include some kind of like glove mechanisms where you're able to like simulate touch really well. Now, again, I'm saying glove out figuratively. I don't know exactly what that means here, but the idea is to be able to simulate touching things and or holding things or something like that.
like tactile feedback, like in your hand.
Yeah, that's what I interpret it as. Could be gloves, could be simulating the experience of having your hands in the real world. Again, but I agree with you though. VR is a very tough bet to bet on, because if I recall correctly here's like the biggest obstacle when it comes to VR getting mass adoption and being a mainstream popular tool, is that 30% of the population has some form of like mild to extreme epilepsy, if I recall correctly. Or
30%?
That's what I heard at one point. I heard that when I was talking to a dev at E3 back in 2016. He was like, yeah, man, it's like the in our internal testing here, and I say epilepsy, but like it's epilepsy and a cluster of other things too, where just in general, like people can't play VR.
Oh, actually, motion sickness might be what you're thinking of.
Yeah. Sorry.
Epilepsy is like you see certain patterns of lights and you have like a fucking seizure and shit.
Yeah, which would also like make VR not doable. My apologies here. I meant within the cluster of the entirety of like epilepsy amongst other things. It's like this 30% cluster just can't handle VR. They can't handle motion sickness. Yeah, like they can't play for longer than 30 minutes or an hour. Like it's just like,
I'm saying 30% of Americans having epilepsy would make driving very fucking scary. Like I can just imagine like a fucking cop like turning his fucking his lights on, and all of a sudden like fucking half the cars go veering off the road or some dumb shit. But yeah. It's
well, the thing there though, minor thing right there. LED billboards. You bring up like the possible epilepsy from bright lights. I find when I was riding in taxis in Vegas, and when I was in Times Square in New York, like those insanely bright LED billboards are actually quite distracting and very, very troubling. I find it really hard to even focus at that point.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know if you drove by them whatnot. Yeah, they are. Oh my god, they are so bright, dude. It's like it gets your attention without whether you wanted to or not.
Do you remember a long time ago? This is very tangentially related. Do you remember when that Pokemon episode aired with the polygons?
Yeah, the Porygon episode. Yeah, where
I said polygons. Oh my god, yeah, Porygon. You're right. Yeah, with the Porygons, it was literally like the main, like the blue and red flashing, like the main like epileptic trigger or whatever. I think they had to actually remove it from being aired in the U.S.
That is correct. What happened was, in the climax of the episode, the Porygon was being released from the digital dimension to the real world, or vice versa, or something like that. And the depiction of the portal going to the digital world was this literally frame by frame alteration of pink to bright blue. And so when it was like doing it like rapidly, it was like for a full 4 seconds. It was giving kids seizures, correct, in Japan. And so in America, that episode in its entirety was banned.
Oh, they didn't even air it in America. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they didn't even edit it out. They just banned it entirely. And on that note, too, there was another. If you guys care about Pokemon TV broadcast trivia, there was also another episode that was banned where there was a beauty contest, and in it, Jesse, the male of Team Rocket, I'm sorry, James of Team Rocket,
James did the cross dressing.
He did the cross dressing and had like full like breast in a I don't know how the breast came to be or whatever, but yeah, the joke was he was cross dressing and had on a had bra and cleavage, and so the episode was in its entirety banned. Also not just censored, just entirely not even aired. So, in case you guys care, no American censorship and whatnot. So, but yeah. That guy leaked a lot here. I was gonna bring up another point about the guy who leaked thing, but I forgive me, I lost my train of thought already on where I was going with that. But yeah, so we got that. Yeah, it's gonna be a monster VR, a standard from the ground up.
Oh, I guess
and possible. Go ahead.
Related to VR, something it's always hard to tell like what's going to be a paradigm shift versus what's going to be a gimmick. When I look at VR, I kind of think a lot about 3D movies. I don't know if you remember at one point in time, some people in my chat still say this is going to be a thing, but I feel like when did Cameron's Avatar come out? Was this like 10 years ago?
2009.
Yeah, okay, almost 10 years ago.
Believe it or not, yeah, Avatar was December 2009.
I remember when that movie came out especially, people were talking about how VR, or not VR, but 3D movies were
3D.
going to be like the thing. Like this is the future of film. And it seemed like very quickly we were kind of like, okay, well, this is actually just a really dumb gimmick and nobody's really taking this seriously. And as far as I know today, nobody really takes 3D movies like seriously. That's like some meme shit you do for like funny horror movies or something. If people even do that anymore. I kind of wonder if VR will go the same route. If we're actually going to get like that that killer VR app, like that awesome game where it's like, kind of like what Halo was to the Xbox, where it's like if you want to play this game that everybody's playing, you need to get this thing. Or if VR is just going to kind of fizzle out and nobody's really going to care about it.
You bring up a very valid concern right there. Well, two things. First, you're right. Yeah, 3D. So what happened with Avatar, the reason why 3D had such a big boom at the time was that pretty much James Cameron, the visionary that he is, again, visionary, I wouldn't say, great writer. He, because the story of Avatar, Omega Law, but Unobtainium, Omega Law. Yeah, he pretty much was like, the film dictated the release of the standard of having 3D projectors in cinemas throughout the USA and everywhere else so that you can properly screen Avatar in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I will give it that. It had phenomenal CGI because, the cat people don't look awkward. They look real. And to me, it survives that test. They don't look like they're CGI. They look literally immersive. But that aside now, and it did lead to Avatar, being the box office king that it is, 2.7 billion worldwide. Nothing's come close since then. I believe one film has crossed 2 billion worldwide in box office. It might have been, I forget which film it was now, though. I should know, and I don't know offhand. But anyways, though, yeah, so that happened. And then the cross-pollination of the 3D saturation of cinema led to also, notably here, Alice in Wonderland coming out that March 2010, also crossing $1 billion because it also was a film that was like made with 3D in mind. But to answer your question here, why 3D kind of died out a little bit, 3D died out because like it became a saturated gimmick. You saw a lot of companies do post-conversion 3D where the film was filmed with 2D regular cameras, and then they would just take it and convert it post-production, which leads to it being nowhere near as good. Whenever a film is filmed with 3D cameras, it's much more difficult, and you have to like really focus hard on your composition of your shots. And there are some films, if you Google them, there are films that are natively filmed with 3D cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in particular here there was oh god, who was the guy who Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott did film, I believe.
Don't say Prometheus.
One that comes to mind for me is Prometheus. Prometheus was filmed in. I know Omega Law and the plot of Prometheus, but that was a film that was filmed natively in 3D, if I recall correctly. And I thought 3D was really, really well done. The story obviously is very questionable.
I guess like I think it's a more fundamental question maybe than whether or not the 3D is done well or not, which I mean obviously would play into it. But I guess it's a question of like, does having a film in 3D actually add anything to the film? Like, do you actually feel like your experience is enriched by seeing a film in 3D that otherwise would have just been 2D, I guess?
Great question again here. I would say there's two problems there, right? One is that if you wear glasses, you have to wear glasses on the 3D glasses, and that's like probably an annoyance that most don't want to deal with if you are a glasses wearer. So I would say if I did wear glasses, I probably wouldn't give a shit. One, two, as far as a boosted immersivity goes, I'm trying to sound smart right now. I found particularly my best example of a film using 3D to its strength would be 2010's How to Train Your Dragon, the first one. There's a scene where Hiccup, I'm gonna remember the film is from DreamWorks. Hiccup rides a dragon, and it gets into a first-person POV of him riding the dragon. And in 3D, particularly in IMAX 3D, real IMAX 3D with a huge screen, it's fantastic. It's like I felt like I was falling out of my seat. It was fantastic. But now the part where I hate it though, this actually, I really was a believer. I was like, yeah, 3D is awesome, dude. I think it's actually pretty sick. It wasn't until I started watching Marvel movies in 3D and I saw that it was just post-converted nonsense. It was like very, very timid and almost no depth effects whatsoever. It was just like a bloated price ticket point for a darker tint screen because the 3D glasses will minimize the saturation of the color. So the colors just look like you're watching through with sunglasses on, honestly. It's really, really bad. And you see it at peak badness. I'm sorry, I'm going to trigger chat a little bit here. But if you recall M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, that the movie that shall not be named anymore at this point, forget that it even exists. If you saw that in 3D like I did, it was not even produced with 3D in mind. Like there are scenes in that movie that are so dark with night scenes that you can't even see what's going on, honestly. It's like you're watching with literal sunshades on. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also Aang.
That'll be interesting if I guess either to go back to games, if there is some game that comes out that like everybody has to have that's actually centered on VR, it almost feels like the industry is waiting for that game to come out too. That would be like the massive selling point of it as well, because it seems like the most popular VR stuff is like meme shit. Not to degrade it, but like the VR chat and whatnot seems to be the most popular usage of the VR machines right now, which is not even like a real thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, what do you speculate here? What would you want? What would personally convince you that VR? What would be that VR killer app for you? Would it be a game of deep narrative lore with an emphasis on high immersive aspects via touch and depth and shit, or like what would you? Or,
I don't know.
I
mean, like
I can't say.
It seems like it plays in like really well to like shooters types of games. Like I don't know if playing an RPG in VR makes much sense. But I would have to experience that. I guess it's hard to say. I've always heard like the main complaints that like the closer VR gets to being real, the less satisfying it can be sometimes, even because once you're in like a fully immersed VR environment, the fact that your hands don't work the way that they normally do and you can't like really touch and interact with things is like something that's very hard for the mind to reconcile. It leaves you feeling very uncomfortable and whatnot.
Almost like Uncanny Valley, you would say.
Yeah, I guess in a way, right?
Yeah,
where things start to look so real and that you want to interact with things, but nothing is actually real and it's just like very irritating and whatnot. But,
yeah, the closer we get to perfection or full realism, the more obvious the things that stand out at that point.
Yeah,
that are not achieving that point.
I guess it's gonna come down to there being, or at least what I think it is it's gonna come down to there being like this one awesome fucking game that everybody is playing and streaming and talking to their friends about that only exists on VR, and that's gonna be like the big turning point if it happens that you need VR to experience it too, you know. And that's kind of the thing that I'm really interested about. Like, what is it that I would? And I guess I kind of asked the same question about 3D movies. Like, what is VR giving me that I couldn't get on a conventional 2D screen? Like that's what I really want, you know, like that experience that you could only get in VR that would make me want to buy it and not something I could just get playing on my monitor.
Now the problem there though, actually it plays back retroactively to our earlier topic here about AAA development. And I just can't imagine a game that's going to have a grand enough concept to justify a really big budget. To be like this headline VR experience when that is intrinsically tethered to VR hardware.
Yeah.
So the VR hardware would have to be bundled with some next-gen console or in some fashion to have the user base to justify the game being.
Well, this is where Sony would come in, right? I would expect Sony would be the people that would back the funding on this, especially since their VR shit is going to be included with the PS5, but rumor has it, right?
That's the thing. I have to, even that narrative, let's pause there, right? Because I'm not certain about. Could they afford, like you can lose money on a console being sold at at whatever price and then make it up with royalties throughout the lifetime of its system. Sony's done that with PS3 dramatically, as well as PS2. I don't know if it did with PS4. I think PS4 was sold at profit. I could be wrong about that though at start. But I just don't know if we're gonna get like a monster console that can push with VR from the ground up and be able to push that kind of muscle and it be bundled together for 500. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's true too. I forget that to run VR, you're essentially rendering something twice, right? Like it's the requirements are pretty beastly for it.
Yeah, and you're also gonna want to run it at if I recall correctly here, you want to run it way higher than 60 FPS, like 90 minimum, but ideally 120 if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's because like
so
a
you gotta
20 or
have
30
some serious
FPS
muscle.
stutter would look like absolute ass. Yeah, yeah. Damn, that's brutal.
Yeah. So you need some serious muscle for that, and I just don't know if they're gonna have like the. I do agree with you though. I agree with you that if you really want to get VR somewhere, you gotta have the install base to make the risk of investing in it minimized. But at the same time, that kind of means you need it bundled. And the thing about that is Microsoft got bit really hard now with the Xbox One at launch. You know, it was forced bundled to Connect. Now, and don't get me wrong, I agree here. Connect and VR are two very different things. Like one, I understand the merits of. The other one, I feel it was like Microsoft trying to really get that whole ecosystem going on with their whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Their take on where gaming should go, I guess, or their own proprietary technology.
Oh man, I just had a really strong opinion actually that I hadn't thought about before. Because I just caught a comment in chat about how you'd have to wait for the PS 5.5 to come out and not the PS5. How do you feel about them selling upgraded consoles? I guess I haven't really thought about this before, but it's looking back, and if I were to think back, because I have a lot of money now and I don't give a fuck, I'll buy whatever. But like, if I was like a college kid again, or if I was back when I had very little money, the idea of buying a console, like if I buy a PS4, I want to have like the PlayStation 4. I don't want to have like the PlayStation 4 gimped version, and then the PS4 Pro comes out. It's like, wait, what the fuck? That actually feels like such shit. I can't imagine if you're somebody that has like a PS4 and then they make like a PS4 Pro and like now a lot of the games coming out, like I think for Final Fantasy 15, it's like, hey, this game runs at 60 FPS on the PS4 Pro, but not on your normal shit PS4 that only fucking losers buy. Like, what the fuck is that? That seems like shit. The expansion packs like for the N64 and shit were okay, but a whole other separate console, what the fuck?
So that's actually a great thing here. I'd love to go in further about that. So these all have actually very rich history. The N64 expansion pack was kind of a product of the failed 64DD, the Nintendo 64 disc drive, that only came out in Japan. And whenever that got scrapped officially is whenever you saw the projects that were in works for the 64DD come to fruition, but it did need the expanded RAM that the expansion pack got for 64. So that's a little bit of a different hardware failure leading to a different hardware utilization for 64. And again, there's games that didn't necessarily have development on 64DD that ended up requiring it. Not all of them did, but no, particularly Majora's Mask was one that started as a Ocarina of Time expansion that became its own game and whatnot.
I guess like I'm okay with buying like the expansion pack, but knowing that my whole console just became shit.
Well, let's talk about that actually. That's a little bit different though. So that's different than what I would say the PS4 Pro is. PS4 Pro I feel came to be because in 2016, I know it's tough to think here about this now, but like VR was really popping. I believe 2015 was the year that Facebook bought Oculus for $2.2 billion outright. Massive cloud acquisition. And everyone was like, you know, you're seeing Vive, you know, HTC was going to release their Vive at the time as well. And VR had like this new wonderment going on. I remember particularly at E3 2015, you saw VR being a pretty big, the big hype thing that was getting showed off to quite a few people at the Oculus booth, as well as with the Samsung smartphones doing their thing as well. And Sony, I felt very insecure about their 2009 PC stuck in a 2013 lunchbox, masses of PS4 ultimately, right? They felt insecure because the thing could not run VR competently, if I recall correctly. And so the PS4 Pro was ultimately like them trying to tap into the VR market, but in the most minimal insecurity revealing way possible by giving it a mid-generation incremental upgrade of hardware. And then dictating to all developers that the games must still run on PS4 vanilla or PS4 base. But if you want to make them enhance on PS4 Pro, you may.
Sure.
But the exception here is that VR games don't have to require that. From what I understand correctly, I could be wrong about this here, but I'm pretty confident I'm right in this one. What I'm getting at here is that Sony allowed developers to make games blatantly run on PS4 Pro in VR that don't have to run well on PS4 base. So ultimately the horsepower of the PS4 Pro was meant to just like let the VR market exist peacefully and whatnot. because PS4 base could not run the VR very, very well.
Yeah.
So that was the idea behind the PS4 Pro. As for this bigger thing about mid-generation upgrades, again, that's the size of the economy, and because you saw particularly here, you saw 7th generation with 360, PS3, and the Wii last a lot longer. Usually prior to that, generations of consoles lasted about 5 years. That one was more like 8 to 8.5. You know, going from 05, the Xbox 360's first launch, upwards to 20. I debatably, 2012 with the Wii U coming out, but really 2013 is whenever everything kicked off with 360 or with the Xbox One and the PS4.
We could have a separate episode at some point where I could spend 2 hours just shitting on the Nintendo naming scheme for their products. Holy fucking shit!
Oh no, you're right. It's
I have no.
The Wii U deserves
idea.
a giant. The Wii U deserves a giant dissection of because it's not just like a failure; it's an interesting failure because there's like the perfect storm of maybe 5 too many bad decisions that led to what it is, and it being a stinker that had a lifetime sales of only 12 million units sold.
Mm-hmm.
A stinker that was so bad that the Switch sold more in its first fiscal year than the entirety of the Wii U. The Switch sold 14 million units in its first year. The Wii U, 12.5 million. Says a lot right there, honestly, about the concept there. But yeah, we should definitely do that when we get a chance here.
Yeah. Okay. Are we good on this? We spend way too much time on this one topic.
Well, it's a good there is the last thing here that I expected that actually before all these rumors here, I expected Sony to actually copy the Switch. I expected there to be 100% to be like a Sony Switch to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we can leave that for another day. We can do it next time. I agree. We've been on this topic for quite a while now.
Sure. The next one was kind of a smaller one. It had to do basically with a rumor about Microsoft releasing a discless Xbox One. But I don't think there was much to talk about there, right? This is all highly unsubstantiated rumor so far.
Super duper speculative, y'all. But the rumor is that Microsoft's considering releasing a discless all digital Xbox One for a very affordable price to offset the fear of your being tethered to their ecosystem and whatnot. So no optical drive, not able to read any media. So it's an all digital machine, but it would be very, very cheap. Under $200. I don't know if that means $199, if that means even lower. Again, debatably here because the Xbox One S does have an optical drive, and this might not be as appealing for some of y'all. Mm-hmm. But the idea was that Microsoft would release an all digital console iteration of the Xbox One for a very low price. I would also include some pro-consumer means to compensate for the scariness of modern DRM, digital rights media, or digital rights management for media. And the idea would be that you'd be able to mail off physical copies of 360 games and Xbox One games, and they would grant you a license to download that game digitally on your all-digital Xbox One. So this is interesting here. I don't know if this was supposed to happen next year and whatnot, but it's an interesting play to try to give a big boost to both the ecosystem of Xbox digitally, as well as this would make it very lucrative to get on. If you haven't heard about this yet, they've been pushing this really hard for the last couple of years here. The Xbox Games Pass, where I don't know the exact price point. I think it's $12.99 a month here, but you can pay a monthly subscription fee and you get access to a shitload of Xbox titles. And they're pushing that really hard, and they have been for a while here because they've been really emphasizing that their next flagship title, Crackdown 3, coming out early 2019, will be available on day one with the Xbox Game Pass.
Nice.
So the idea is... go ahead.
I don't know if I've talked with you about this because everybody's a little bit younger these days, it seems. Do you remember, or did you ever have fucking Sega Channel?
No, what's
oh my god, Sega did
Sega
so
Channel.
many fucking revolutionary things, and I don't know if anybody remembers whatever. So for the Sega Channel, you had this big ass fucking cartridge that you plugged into your Sega, and you would have to actually run I think it was a coax to the side of this fucking cartridge. And what it gave you access to anywhere from, what was it, guys? It was I think it was 40 or 50 different Sega games every month. This was before, I want to say before the internet existed, but not really. But this was back when people used AOL and shit. This was I want to say in the mid-late 90s. Or maybe even earlier, but you could literally have, it was an online game service where every month, this launched in December of 1994 and lasted until 1998, okay? So I would have been 10 years old when this went out of business. Jesus. But like it was like every month or every other week, like you would basically have like 40 or 50 different Sega games that you could select from to play on your console. And this was like 20 years ago. I didn't know if you ever heard of it. This was fucking amazing. I love this shit growing up. This was like insane. Yeah.
And you used it personally, or you
Oh
just
yeah, I did. Yeah, I loved it. It was so much fun. Yeah, I
Oh.
could because there were always like certain favorite games that I had, and I remember like looking at the different genres because every other week I'd get really excited because there was like because back then finding information about anything was like impossible because I didn't know how to use the
Right.
internet, and the internet itself was fucking shit. So I remember every other week I would always check for like the new Phantasy Star to see if they'd release the next one, and I'd always get really disappointed when the old I don't know. Do you ever remember watching Dragon Ball Z episodes back in the day when like they would reset the seasons after like a certain episode like every single time because a new one hadn't been released, and like every time you went to watch DBZ you were like crossing your fingers like, please let it be a new episode, please don't let it go back, and then they would go back to like the beginning of the season like, no, because there was like no good way to find out, or at least I didn't know back then, like how to find out when the next season would actually air. Like, yeah, holy shit. Anyway, sorry, slight rant. Fuck, Sega did so much cool shit.
No, you're right though. That was definitely a big struggle for all of us '90s anime fans, and that's actually really really cool. I wouldn't say if you want to go off on rental woes here. My minor tangent here is that as a kid I had my allowance, and I had my little $5 a week and whatnot, and so I could spend my $5 on trash, like getting like a Coca-Cola at the store, getting some Skittles or whatever, or I can deprive myself of all that, and my strongest max on minimum money spent for maximum amusement was to do weekly visits to Blockbuster and rent games there. So my allowance was like 24/7, just like Blockbuster every weekend, always renting games. And that was my portal to the world because as a kid, my whole thing was like my parents weren't rich either. And so all I got every year was Christmas and birthday. Those were the two things. And I would plan way in advance over what I was going to get here. In fact, I remember particularly like having a very difficult decision between getting Banjo-Kazooie for 64 or getting Smash Brothers for 64 or Mario Party. It was like a big three-way thing, and I could not figure out which one I wanted to get for my birthday because, they were all probably, 60 a piece at the time. They're expensive cartridges and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was like a big struggle. But I dealt with that by just renting what games I could, even though all three of those were always sold out at Blockbuster. It was so annoying. But yeah, your portal was Sega Net. My portal was, like many other kids in here, probably Blockbuster at the time.
Do you ever have the unfortunate experience for like Christmas or whatever? First of all, you always fucking knew what the games were because they were always wrapped like you knew it was a fucking game. And then you go to unwrap it and it would be like, this is very clearly the first thing they saw like in the video game section at Toys R Us. It'd be like some weird like superhero game that was like super shit that no one cared about. You're like, thanks for the video game. Like, shit. Did you ever have that, or did your parents know more about video games, I guess, than anyone in my family did?
My mom knew. She was very attentive. I made like a Santa wish list. I, was very like, I need this particular one. I need Sonic Triple Trouble, not Sonic 2, Mom. It's different. I have a Game Gear. I already have Sonic 2 on Genesis. I need the other one. Like I made it very, very, very clear which one I wanted and what I needed here. And, but yeah, it's funny, because my dad is such a dude, bro. He would just like wrap the box it came in, like it wouldn't even mask it. Like, I can easily tell it was the Genesis in the box or whatever. My mom would be all try hard and like put the shit in another box and wrap it with other shit, and it was like she'd be the kind of person who would like take a game, like she's buying me a game, right? She'd put the game in like a big popcorn, the candy corn popcorn bins with like the 5 different flavors of popcorn.
Yeah,
she would put the game cartridge in that and then wrap that to keep me guessing.
Oh,
and it was
gotcha.
Like, yeah, so she was a big tryhard about that, honestly. So I with her, I didn't know if my dad I knew. My dad was like zero effort. Like I knew on day one under the tree that was a Dreamcast right away because it was the size of the box. Mega free.
I remember for one of my Christmases, I had I really liked. Do you know Spyro the Dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played the first Spyro the Dragon. I had a lot of fun with that. And I remember I got, I think it was my grandma got me another dragon game for me. And it was this horrible fucking game. I'm trying to make sure I'm making this, but I'm pretty sure it was called fucking Frogger. Have you ever heard of this game on PS2? I remember loading this game up and trying to play this game for like 20 minutes, and I hated it, and it was the worst experience. And I'd always get like these super fucking random ass fucking games from my grandparents, and I was always hoping. But like, it's crazy because like the first game my grandma ever got me was Final Fantasy VII. But it was just like total fucking luck, I guess. You're just like, and I was like, oh wow, the guy's got a big sword. I guess I'll play this. And then like, oh cool, like now I'm like literally playing games professionally, probably because I got that game. But then like that was like the only hit, like in a long line of misses afterwards. Like holy, just the most random dumb fucking games.
Thankfully, I was terrible at sports as a kid. My dad tried really hard to get me into all kinds of sports ball, whether it be, baseball, t-ball, basketball, football. I was terrible and had no interest in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I because of that, I never had to deal with the massive woes of getting a sport title for Christmas or anything like that. Like I never got to deal with any of that. He knew that I was not into football or sports ball at all, and just like I never had to deal with like, I don't know. I can't imagine how many kids really enjoyed like, getting, I don't know, NFL quarterback club for Sega Genesis. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you compare getting that to like, I don't know, Sonic 2 or I don't even know, Golden Axe or whatever.
To be fair, for the Nintendo 64, did you ever play NFL Blitz?
I was gonna say, Blitz is probably the one that's
shit,
like really
dude.
cool.
Those games were actually really
Arcade
fun.
stuff.
I didn't give a fuck about sports at all, but fucking NFL Blitz, dude, that game was fucking awesome. Holy shit. Or on Sega.
Arcade sport titles are a special exception, definitely. NBA Street, NFL Blitz, even SSX, if you want to call that one extreme sports, extreme snowboarding. Like those were all like really, really fun, actually, I would say. And NBA Jam, of course. NBA Jam's another big one.
On the old Sega, there used to be these set of sports games, but they were like set in these horror universes. So there were like certain plays you could run where you were playing like football, but like you could hike the ball and throw it, but it would turn into like a grenade and like blow up part of the stadium. I don't know if anybody remembers these games. I'm sorry, my age is showing. These are like really fucking old like Sega games. I know there was a football one. I think they might have made them for other sports too, but yeah. Okay.
No, well,
moving on
so
to
that's
Microsoft Diskless. Did we even talk about that? Oh, Mutant League Football.
We
That might have
brought
been
up what it was. That's speculation right now. We don't know anything else about it here, and that may be like a kind of a the entirety of the diskless Xbox One might be a 2019 filler thing to build awareness of their digital ecosystem with the Games Pass, and that would go into probably a big stalling point as they figure out, or they're continuing to engineer their next Xbox. That's my speculation because we're at a point now where just straight up Xbox One is like kind of losing. Like PS4 has, if I recall correctly here, approaching or almost at 65 million units sold worldwide, compared to Xbox's, I believe, 35 or approaching 35. And I know it's like either half or less than half.
What do you have on Xbox? What do you buy the Xbox for these days? It used to be like Gears of War and Halo and shit. What is it now?
And that's the problem, right? There's no... In 2018, where you saw, bangers from Sony's and exclusivity-wise with God of War and Spider-Man, just literally getting, tens from all kinds of game publications and a really high Metacritic with a very stellar user report as well. Xbox has been kind of dry on exclusives for a while now. Like that gas kind of ran out around 2015, I would say.
Is Call of Duty, is that on the
now.
PlayStation now as well, or is that still?
Not only is it, Activision
it is?
Sony they have an exclusive DLC deal. DLC debuts on PS4 earlier than any other platform.
Damn, that seems like a big mistake because like Xbox seemed to be. My impression was that like obviously Sony has a fuck ton of amazing titles, but it seemed like when the Xbox came out, it very quickly solidified itself as the place to be for shooters, right? With Halo, with Gears of War, with Call of Duty. I'm really surprised they gave up Call of Duty to Sony, although maybe the money was just they couldn't do it.
Yeah, I would probably consider that like a parallel to our earlier topic last week about the whole, giving a shit ton of money for the construction of stadiums in their cities. I imagine Sony just probably gave Activision like a shitload of money. Not even because it's not gonna probably not even gonna get a strong return on investment. More that like we're gonna continue to use this as leverage to cement our lead against Xbox.
Sure, people are saying that Call of Duty was on both. Is that actually true? I feel like maybe it was just because of Xbox Live is why I thought of Call of Duty. I always associated Call of Duty with Xbox so much more than I ever did with PlayStation. Is it because of Xbox Live? Maybe I'm not sure. That's always what it felt like to me.
Yeah, Call of Duty is on both. It's always been multi-platform. The reason why you may have that strong connotation with the two is that because if you go back here to Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, back in 07 to 09. Xbox Live had group chat years before PSN had group chat.
Yeah.
So the reason, and this is again is relevant because I used to work at GameStop from 07 to 2011 here. Xbox Bros lived off of the group chat thing. That was back when Skype wasn't even relevant. It was garbage back then. It's garbage now. When you wanted to connect online and have your boys with you, you did group chat. You didn't care about the in-game lobby chat. It was all about the group chat. And PSN slept on that feature that was requested direly for a long ass time. So
Xbox Live was like
in there.
Xbox Live was its own thing quite a ways before the PlayStation had any kind of online shit, right? Am I remembering that correctly or no? I feel like when Xbox Live came out, that was like groundbreaking, earth-shattering shit.
Yeah, Xbox Live debuted in 2002. Sony did have an online thing for PS2, but it was very
like
timid.
Super shit. And I think only some games. It was like you had to
Final Fantasy 11 and some other. I think SOCOM.
Yeah,
it was very minimal, honestly. Yeah, Xbox had much better infrastructure from the very jump to really bridge console players to come to the online realm, and that continued further into 360, big time. Gotcha. And they had group chat very early on, and that was like super lit. And when you have group chat, it's that early advantage that drives the early adopters, and those early adopters bring their friends in. And at that point, you have user-based momentum, and from there, it didn't even matter that PSN was free until 2014, whenever it was that it became pay to use. You went to Xbox Live Gold because it had the group chat amongst other things. Everything was smart and good and not dumb. Now, I'm not saying it was a good value. Obviously, there's like the PC gamers are all Omega Law paying for online gaming, but in the console sense here, it streamlined everything for accessibility. So that was what they wanted.
Sure.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Are we moving to real topics?
These
were our fluff. These were our fluff topics, and somehow they took up an hour.
These are the fun ones.
Oh man. Okay, don't worry. We're making good time. Our next one is big topic. Tyler Barriss pled guilty to swatting, among other things.
Right. So do you want to do a minor recap here on this incident?
Some of y'all might notice minor recap, I guess. Two guys playing, I believe it was Call of Duty World War II.
Correct.
I believe that because I'm reading it on Wikipedia. And as they were playing, I guess at some point there was some friendly fire bullshit going on, and they bet like $1.50 on some game. I don't know if they played a 1v1 or what, but they were using some online betting service. And the bet was for $1.50. And the one guy lost the other guy talking shit, and eventually he challenged him. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking swat you." And then the other dude's like, "Well, here's my fucking address. Like, come get me, bro." But he posted an address that wasn't his own address. He posted a fake address. Some people were speculating that it was an old one. I don't know if that was true or not, but the other guy who was going to swat him contacted a guy that does this, that swats people and shit. He contacts him. He gives him the address. He's like, take care of this dude or whatever. The guy swats him, but it wasn't that guy. It was a totally uninvolved third party, and the police ended up showing up to this guy's house. The guy steps outside. Police shout in a little bit. He raises his hand, lowers his hand, gets shot by the police, and it's obviously a horrible fucking ordeal because this is is this the first guy to get killed by swatting, or is this like the biggest one?
Yeah, from what I understand, this is the first guy to get killed by swatting.
Yeah. And the guy that was involved with doing the swatting, has obviously been involved with a ton of shit, like over 30 bomb threats and shit in the past. Just quoting the bottom of this thing, he pled guilty to federal charges of false information and hoaxes, cyber stalking, threatening to kill another or damage property by fire, interstate threats, conspiracy, and several counts of wire fraud, according to federal court records. And he's also facing charges for involuntary manslaughter in Kansas and a false alarm in his home state of California. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason why we're bringing this up again today is because notably the swatter himself, Tyler Barriss, pled guilty to those charges, and it will be he's going to get sentenced January 30th next year. So it's good that he pled guilty outright. We're not getting a dragged on case to get to the part where he gets finalized on his judgment and whatnot. But it's still a very tragic thing, and I found this really important to bring up here because there's a special place of disgust for swatters because like it's so exhaustingly frustrating whenever it's like an international affair. Like here, for once, it was like USA ex-USA stuff, so it was all domestic police able to take care of it and whatnot. But whenever you have international swatting going on, you got some douche nozzle in Norway, doxing and swatting someone in USA. It's like, how often are you going to hear about the USA police collaborating with Norwegian police to enforce things happening and whatnot? Usually, when it's international, it's very like unlikely that anything's going to come from it because you hide behind the VPN, you hide behind everything else here, and it's like, I don't know. So it's like you hear about the horror stories too often to count, honestly, about the guy or person getting away with it and just nothing ever coming to resolve for punishment and whatnot, or even some form of like basic retribution. And here, you know, they pressure him, had him cornered to just plead guilty on a plea deal, I'm assuming. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be pretty extensive on his end, pretty bad rap sheet.
Yeah,
But
this
what's
is
notable
like
here,
swatting is something that is so fucked up for like every party involved. Like on one hand, I feel bad for so many people involved in this. Like the the cop is under fire a lot for shooting the guy, because a lot of people are saying the shooting was unprovoked. The cop was worried that the guy was reaching for his waistband. I don't know if that's true or not. Apparently when they released the body cam footage, they released like fucking 7 seconds of footage because for whatever dumb fucking reason cops do this shit. But
of course,
like if you're not familiar with swatting, you know, if you never even would consider that somebody would do this, the idea that you would get a call from a guy saying that he'd murdered his family and he was about to set his house on fire and he had hostages and shit. Like you show up at the house expecting like, why the fuck would this be a fake fucking call? Like that would be like inconceivable to you. And then a guy steps out of his house. I mean, like you have every reason to believe that this dude is about to either set his house on fire or execute hostages inside or what, you know? So like those situations are, and that's how swatters work, right? Like they always call to present a situation that is going to call. That's why it's called swatting, is to make a SWAT team show up, you know? You always call saying that somebody's been killed, that somebody's being held hostage, and that you're presenting some sort of imminent danger that calls for a SWAT team, that you're armed. And it's like, yeah, everybody in those situations has got to be so fucked. I can't imagine how well, I mean, I can't imagine. It's fucking horrible that people do that shit for fun. Like I think that should be like, you're literally like on conspiracy to murder and shit, you know?
No, I agree fully here with all that.
Mm-hmm.
So to continue though, notably, so yeah, Tyler Barriss, the guy who did the swatting, was not involved directly in the Call of Duty bet ordeal that escalated to SWAT threats.
Yeah, no, he's like a third party dude.
He pled guilty, right? But the other two individuals here, their names Casey Viner and Shane Gaskill. So it's important to note here that Casey Viner was a guy who requested Barriss to do the swatting, but that Shane Gaskill dared Viner to swat him and then provided that fake address. And I find that, you know, like if you're going to just like throw out there like so think about that, right? Gaskill like had a fake address. I'm assuming, you know, and both these guys are young. One's 20, one's 18 years old, so they're both like young and, you know, whatever, stupid. Mm-hmm. And Gaskill just like grabs a random address in Wichita, Kansas that he's never been to or knows what exactly it is and whatnot. I can't imagine you put too much thought into this entire thing here. And just gives him a random address. It's like, yeah, haha, I dare you to swat me, bitch, or whatever he says, right? And it's like, shouldn't these actions be like contributed to some kind of charge as well? I don't think they've been officially charged yet.
I don't know. That's a really hard one for me. I'm not sure. It sounds like an obvious yes, but like, what if we're getting into some shit online? I'm like, dude, I'll be at the fucking mall tomorrow wearing a black fucking coat. Find me outside the food court. And some guy shows up and finds a guy in a black coat and like kills him. Like, are you liable for that? Oof, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a hard one. I'm not sure. I mean, if you're literally giving out addresses,
that's fair.
Yeah, but they're like public addresses. Maybe he didn't expect the guy to do it, but I mean, like, you have to think of that. Like, well, what if the guy does show up and go there? I've kind of wondered about that sometimes. I got doxxed a couple times back at my old house by kids on Kiwi Farms and 4chan and shit. But a lot of the times they were posting the wrong address. And it was my neighbor across the street. And I just wouldn't say anything. But I would always check every day. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I wonder if anything's going on over there. Like, because I wouldn't fucking know. Like, yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a rough one. I'm not sure.
My gut reaction is like, dude, yeah, the guy provided a fake address and had a call to action. I dare you to swat me. Now, mind you, I have to look further into this and like, you know, did he factually? I know the interpretation was he dared him. I don't know exactly what he said to provoke that in some kind of manner, but like, depending on how it was framed, we could have the argument about whether or not like, was there a call to action with malicious intent? And at that point, is that worth a charge, or is it just like, LOL, I was joking? Kind of thing?
It sounds like something. It would be like a civil. Like a civil thing, like the guy that actually ends up getting involved in that would sue the guy for giving out his address. But criminally, yeah, I don't know, man. That's just rough. Like, because I feel like the guy can make so many arguments. Like, the most obvious being, well, I didn't think he was actually gonna fucking do anything, and I don't know how you would ever like disprove that in court. Because I'll be completely fucking honest. I was really edgy as a fucking teen, and I know that I did that shit. I would give up my real address sometimes at fucking battle.net chats because it was the easiest way to win an argument. Because some guy would be talking shit like, "I'll fucking kill you, dude." And I was like, "Really? All right, well, here I live in Bellevue. Like, come fucking visit me, dog." Because nobody would ever obviously, but it was the easiest way to like shut people up. He's like, "You're not gonna come to my fucking house, you fucking moron." Like, we're all like fucking 18-year-old neat, wiry, virgin, skinny, fat fucks. Like, come on, dude. But yeah, so like the idea that if somebody would have, you know, yeah, fuck. I don't know, man. It's a really hard one. It seems like it's one of those things where I wish, like, I want to try, like, holding somebody liable, but, like, yeah, I don't know.
I hear you, man. You know what? You're right though. It's disproving that would be a challenge in court. I can agree with that. You're right. It's just I just really want to see this guy. I want to see these scumbags get in there because I feel like that's just like I don't know, like a questionable thing. Like to throw out the random address though is like specifically is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then then not only that, let's talk for a second here. The victim, forgive me, I forgot his name already here, but he was a father. It's not like there's more than just like a person died and got murdered from police brutality or whatever you want to dub this as. But he was a young kid. Is now another one is going to be fatherless again, or just in general parentless. This has like dire consequences as far as like who it affects here. So again, I'm tethering all of that to the action of whatever Gas Kill's threat was to because he threw out the address in the first place here. You know what I mean? So it's like I'd like to see a little more happen here, but I agree that it's going to be tough to prove that intent of like I'm not joking here in court. So I get you on that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Whew. Next serious topic, Jamel Robertson. Do you want to summarize this one, or?
I don't think I know. I'll try my best to get it going here.
Sure. Or I can summarize others. I'm familiar with this.
Oh, yeah. Please, actually, you probably have the thing in front of you.
So basically what I'm familiar with is there was a group of guys at a nightclub who were getting rowdy, and the bouncer basically told them to get the fuck out. And when they were kicked out, one of the guys came back later with a gun to start shooting people, and the Jamel Robertson was a security guard working at I think it was a bar that ended up apprehending the guy. So he's got him on the ground, gun on his back, his knees on his back. He's got him on the ground. Yeah. And then the police were called. Police show up. Something happens. The police are saying that witnesses said that they heard the cops say, "Drop your gun, drop your gun, drop your gun." Other witnesses apparently say they didn't hear that. But after, whatever happens, and then the police open fire, end up injuring, I think, 4 people, and then kill the security guard that had the apprehended person on the ground, who ended up getting injured as well. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. So a bit more about that here. I couldn't get confirmation of this one here actually, but supposedly. It was somehow the guy who came back with the gun, who was upset or whatever with the argument that escalated when he brought his gun back in there, was apparently a Trumpist of some sort, or it was like I forget if it was like a religious dispute or if it was like something else and whatnot. I don't know if the guy he was mad at was like brown, Muslim or whatever, but I hear it was a politically charged thing. I could be wrong on that though. I tried to find further into that, but I couldn't. I saw tweets saying this, but that wasn't like great citation.
Oh yeah, I'd be real careful. I didn't read or hear anything about that. That's not to say that it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah, I'm agreeing with that too. I don't have confirmation on that either, so I don't know much about the guy in question himself. But continuing on there though, that's just a very, very, very loose, uninformative maybe with no citation. Let's see about this again here. Right. So the knee, he had the apprehended guy pinned with his knee on the back, holding him secure with his hands behind his back, right? And this is where things get a little bit tricky here because the police report supposedly says that he didn't have any markings of security, or at best it was like it was a black cap with security written on it. Eyewitness testimony says that there was also there was security written on the back of the shirt as well, but that it was in such a way that it probably wasn't legible to the police officers when they got on the scene because it wasn't like very obvious, or it wasn't like a traditional like big security thing. It was like a different font or typeface or whatever.
Yeah.
So they weren't able to immediately tell that he was working security there and whatnot. And that the other last thing I remember reading here is that the police officer told him to drop his weapon, but that the police officer also shot within seconds of demanding that. Like he didn't have enough time to even comply correctly or realistically.
And then multiple witnesses are apparently saying that they were shouting at the cops not to shoot, that he was the security guard or whatever. But obviously the police report seems to conflict with a lot of what is being reported by other outlets. That other witnesses, so like you said, the police report said that he was given command to drop his weapon. Other outlets are apparently reporting that witnesses say they didn't hear that all they could hear was everybody telling the police not to shoot. So yeah, man, body cams.
Also, if relevant here, this is the thing that the shallow, I didn't say shallow, but the face value observation here is that the police officer who shot lethally was white and that Jamel was black.
Sure.
And so there's like this all there again. I'm not necessarily saying this is like the things we don't have all the facts here yet, but was this racially motivated is also a question here.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, and these kinds of things in this climate today, that's always going to be asked, right?
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
That,
God, we were talking about something before. Really? Oh, this is kind of related. Something that was very irritating. You brought up. You remember Philip Castile? Is that what it was his name or Castillo?
Yeah. Philip Castile. Yeah.
Philip Castile. Yeah. It's interesting that in all of these cases where good guy with a gun stops bad guy with a gun, it seems like sometimes when the people are black, the NRA doesn't seem to. Oh, is it Philando?
I'm sorry,
Philando,
yeah,
Philando
I said the wrong thing here again.
Yeah, sorry, I'm fucking up. Yeah, it always seems like the NRA is so quiet in these cases. Anytime you get like a white dude that stops somebody with a gun, like we always hear about it relentlessly from the NRA, like, oh, well, actually, there's a story about this guy and it's amazing. But anytime like a black guy gets killed and he was a rightful gun owner, it seems strange that the NRA is so quiet. I don't understand. Yeah. Like this seems to be one of those things. Gun. Yeah, where they would classically like should step up and be like, hey, we want to defend gun rights, of all Americans, and here's an example of gun rights being trampled on. But yeah,
strangely quiet here. A little bit more resolved too, actually, is that the bar in question where the shooting happened, apparently it's closed down now because they didn't renew their liquor license. Apparently that it had expired in September. And when Jamel worked security there, something involving the bar did not ensure that he was licensed to work security there or something like that. There was something. It's like both infractions on behalf of the bar itself. They didn't bother like getting all the prep work done correctly as far as like licensed alcohol distribution as well as having the proper. And I don't know if that implies that they didn't have the maybe they were denied having security because they didn't have the proper building layout. Possibly, I'm not quite sure if this something I read into that made it imply that they didn't have like the proper things. They didn't have like fire extinguisher on standby, or they didn't have like.
I don't know how true this is, and I'm really uncomfortable citing this. I had a Greek friend that owned a bar. I used to play poker at his house every week, and I just saw somebody in chat type it too. Though, is that I've heard that for like security, a lot of those people are paid under the table. That you have like a friend that you might have, maybe a guy that used to be a cop or whatever, or just a big fucking dude that's intimidating as fuck, and you pay him like a couple $100 a night to be like a bouncer or some shit, but it's always like under the table, so they're not actually like licensed and shit. I don't know if that's like standard operating procedure at most places, but this is I am aware of at least one person that does, and I just saw someone else bring it up in chat, so I wonder if that might have something to do with that as well. But yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me, honestly. If you're a small business person, you're looking at all you can to minimize expenses and do all the on the table stuff.
Yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, terrible story. Even worse though is the fact that according to citation here,
again,
Jamel Robertson was also working the gig that night because he's trying to get extra cash for his 9-month-old son for his first Christmas, which is just incredibly tragic. And very, very sad. It's always unfortunate to be reminded of the real world implications of gun violence here.
Yeah.
So that's like super duper feels. And then, if relevant here, Kanye West donated, I think it was $150,000 to his official GoFundMe, being moved by the incident and whatnot. I don't know if that's particularly relevant here. Just like, no, that's another thing that happened after the fact.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like I was linking something about that, but I didn't connect those two things together. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all we have for right now on that one. As we're waiting for more facts to become clear about the incident itself. Also notable, by the way, is that currently right now the police officer who did the lethal shooting his name is not released right now. He's currently on administrative paid leave at the police office. But we don't know his name. I believe that some judge local to the area denied releasing the name of him.
Apparently I think a media outlet figured out who it was. They said that he's been with the force for several years. That he's a veteran on the force, but they haven't released a name either.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, 7-year veteran is what I read here.
Yeah.
So,
man, body cams just seem like fucking no-brainers. Like they would protect the hell out of good cops. I've seen a lot of cop footage that has made me think much higher of cops in general. I try not to stereotype anymore, just because I know that some bad apples can ruin the bunch. But like there's been like some body cam footage where it's like, god damn, like these cops were like on their shit. Like they played everything so well. They did their job perfectly. I don't know how every cop isn't like, yeah, body cam footage. Like it exonerates the good people. It condemns the bad people. It's just better for everybody. It protects victims. Like, oh god. like in all of these cases, it should just be like, let's review the footage and then go from there. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I have also seen examples of cops who have done like all they could to de-escalate, and then it's like the person, whether I don't know, high on PCP or whatever, just like was very relentless and just
And there have been like
you gotta do what you gotta do.
I remember because like man, there was one story where like cops execute homeless guy on the ground already being restrained or something, and it like the headline sounds really bad, and I think that story was really bad. But I think when the actual footage came out, you could see that dude was like reaching for a gun and like managed to get his hands on like the gun of a cop that like was on the ground with him. Now like you can argue over whether or not was he restrained properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like yeah, I don't know. Like, there's so much. Like, I just feel like, I feel like there's that body cam footage helps so much when cops are doing their job well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably just a phobia though. I definitely remember hearing when there was the big movement for body cams.
On the course of all the BLM stuff, that was one of the big things that was pushed for.
There were a lot of police departments that were vehemently against it.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah. Well, and then look at all the body cam footage that gets like lost, or they like post like 7 seconds of it, or the cameras are turned off.
That kills me, right? Like if you're gonna have the regulation to mandate body cams for a certain PD, then shouldn't there be also in the same I guess body of text here or rule set to like, it should be the entirety of that day or that shift should be public property at that point or whatever.
Sure.
Like when you have unregulated releases of how you can release the footage, that's still not manipulation to the extent. Like here's the seven seconds of footage that we want you to see, not the entirety of the context of what happened in the incident.
Yeah,
and I feel like we're still not quite there yet, right?
Yeah, or at the very least, even if it's not made public, like at least like it's archived so that for court cases and whatnot, you can subpoena it. Yeah.
That's gonna be an uphill battle though. Honestly, that's a yikes. Like, what would it even take for that to even happen? Like, what would it take for there to get to? I guess what are we fighting for? What you want? Like nationwide body cams on all?
It seems like a
PDs?
no-brainer. My only question would be the cost, but like, I mean, I guess if it's prohibitively expensive, then we would have to talk about increasing funding. But this is like the one thing. This is like, it is very, very rare in today's day and age. When you talk about like racism, it's very fucking nuanced and hard to talk about. When you talk about sexism, it's very fucking hard and nuanced to talk about. Nothing today has like an easy solution. Everything is like this multifaceted fucking approach, blah, 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 blah. So this is like the one area where it's like, this is a fucking easy win. Like body cams, that sounds fucking amazing. Like in one fell swoop, we can fix every fucking bad cop interaction ever. Like no more, did the cop do this bullshit? Did that happen? Like, damn, everybody's got body cams. Now we see exactly what happens to like every person that gets killed, exactly what happens to every altercation. And now we can like, maybe we can still debate about what happens, but it's so much better than the he said, she said, and then everybody disagrees.
You're not wrong either. Yeah. I'll go in further here because the police reports, the be all end all of what actually happened from the documentation. Seems to be I would imagine the perception of police reports is now at an all-time low for trust because we can recall that one incident. I'm probably saying which one here, but I recall a body cam was on because the police officers and this particular PD thought that when you press the on button that it starts recording when you press it rather than rather than having an internal function of recording 30 seconds earlier than you pressing the on function apparently. And he had planted some evidence on this already restrained black gentleman and was like, yeah, he and then he's like, yeah, I got weed on you, and the guy was like, they my shit or whatever, and then the police reporters they had I don't know, intent to distribute or whatever, and got him charged for more than what he actually had or whatever, just the good old classic accusation of the cops planning shit on people. And that was proven thanks to the body cam, unbeknownst to the police officer himself here. So if that happens once, you already know that probably happens, the other times where they don't get caught and whatnot. So yeah, I could imagine the trust of police reports is just like, it's all about, the pact of keeping each other safe and not really about going for the objective truth at times.
Hold on. I have another screen so I can show content if I need to. And I just looked up that article. I don't know if this is really worth showing, just the article itself, but yeah, I just looked this up because that was really funny. A cop whose body cam allegedly showed evidence planting found guilty. During his trial, the officer said he intentionally recorded the body camera video to serve as a recreation of a legitimate discovery of heroin. Okay, buddy.
Oh my god. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Damn, that's some funny ass shit.
Yeah, you see it once, and you think of the extremes of that happening when there isn't like cameras recording and whatnot. And it's
Yeah.
like, and you're seeing it now too, that the demand for body cams is definitely there because you're seeing the absolute, like almost a subconscious training to start recording. Like the minute Philando Castile got pulled over, start recording. Like
Anytime my number one fucking trigger is when I see a fucking cop on camera and he says, "Why are you recording me?" Like, that is some shady ass fucking shit. Sounds like some shit to me. Like, if that's happening in real life, that's like my thoughts. Like, fuck, I'm about to be in a fucking horror movie. As soon as I hear a fucking cop say, "Why are you recording me?" Stop recording me. Like, holy shit. Like, why? What the fuck? Are you about to fucking torture me? Like, what the fuck is about to happen here that you don't want it on camera? Like, oh man.
Yeah. What are you insecure about, honestly?
Yeah. Holy shit, that triggers me so fucking hard.
Yeah, it's happened way too often to count too. Like, put that camera away, or back the fuck up, or whatever. Shit like that. Said it too many times, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Jamel Robertson. When it's more developed, we'll go further into that when we get a chance.
Yeah, lighter topics now. The big
lighter topics.
On to the lighter topics. How would you like to purchase some stream coaching services, trihex?
Man, I am definitely in need for a stream coach, man. I need someone in my corner to like really spell out to me the meta of how to grow. I want to be I want to be the next ninja, man. What you got for me? Is the market there? Can I
Well, glad you asked, because some people on Twitter are stream coaches. So trihex originally suggested this topic to me. I'm not sure where you heard about this, but I'm actually aware of this because I saw that Lyra got into a fight kind of with a lady on Twitter that apparently does stream coaching. And I tried to find information about this, but like all kind of budding industries of life coaching and etc., it was hard to find anything concrete or to find any results or anything. I guess what's your like general impression, I guess, of the idea of stream coaching?
I have to know what the coaching looks like. I'm not particularly opposed to it. But it depends on like I'd have to see what the package actually offers here. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think there's really a wrong way to stream. Like you can stream however you want. If you need assistance, you need to spell out to you how to like. The problem I would have with it is that you're trying to adapt to a particular meta in the standpoint of time, but the meta is always evolving. Even like 6 months from now, what is like meta to grow as a streamer is going to change definitely. Like, like Fortnite was viral January 2018. Fortnite may have been a lucrative thing to look into at that time if you wanted to like try to capitalize on that momentum of it and whatnot. Or in that directory in general. But here we are now, not even 12 months later, and it's completely different now. So how adaptive, how good is a teacher? What are they teaching you to do? What is the reinforcement here? Is it a stream coach, or is it more of like a stream manager? That's what I don't know. I don't know enough about the service to really say whether it's automatically shit or not. But the one thing that we can say is that it has been shitted on by various people online. So I have a very indecisive, neutral opinion on it until I see more about it. But what about you? How do you feel about stream coaching as a concept?
I mean, it's easy to make fun of it, but I really like the idea of trying to distill truths or nuggets of wisdom or successful formulas from successful people. So the idea that I could look at, say, Ninja, Dr. Disrespect, Shroud, all of these people and try to glean some type of insight that there's something that these people are doing that, is good, that you could replicate, that could help you as a streamer. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Now, how much of a snake oil salesman a coach could be is another story. Like I would be uncomfortable. So I would be very comfortable selling a course saying that like, hey, here are some things that you should be doing if you want to be a successful streamer. I would be uncomfortable saying things like, do this and it'll triple your viewership, because I think that even though the meta is changing, I think there are some things that we can say are kind of golden rules related to streaming. Stream a lot. You probably can't stream 1 hour a day. Have a consistent schedule. Have good audio quality, especially. Have a good looking stream. Visual is important as well. There's like a lot of like general principles in terms of associating with your community, keeping it with your social media that we could all probably agree on.
Yeah, all the fundamentals of being an engaging host of your own content.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, stuff that didn't.
You know what's funny about that though, actually? Okay, so you asked about my take on stream coaching here. The thing about that is, I find what's more important than the formalities of streaming, being punctual, being consistent, schedule, etc., all the other stuff here, is actually the quality of the content. because I've seen many an affiliate who do all those things. They're engaging, they're consistent, they are disciplined, but the content is non-competitive. It's like you're a variety loving Pokemon streamer who wants to be all ages and friendly and whatnot. Like there's dozens of that already, and it's probably
Yeah.
needs to be totally, yeah, like,
Yeah, so what
I mean?
you're talking about is basically condiments versus the actual meat itself. Where,
Yeah.
if you've got like a really fucking good burger, I don't believe there are such things as really good burgers, but we'll say for our hypothetical sake, let's say you've got like a really fucking good burger, that like you can have all the condiments you want, but the meat has to be there. Otherwise, none of that matters. And I know
Correct.
exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about, where you've seen somebody that's bought like, the $5,000 streaming PC, and they've gotten professional mock-ups made. They've got like photo shoots and everything, and they've got like the perfect mic and camera and all the shit invested. And they stream, like 2 or 3 hours every other day, and their content is really boring and they don't really do anything. And it's like, if you have really good content, everything else is supposed to be like an accentuator. I don't know if that's the correct word, but like you everything else is supposed to complement. Flavor enhancer. Everything else is supposed to complement what you do. It's not going to make your content for you. Like I have a good microphone because I talk a lot and because people are generally interested in what I want to say, not because I think the microphone is going to give me words that are going to make me more entertaining to other people. It's really important that content is king. You have to focus on that and making sure that's entertaining before.
Wait, pause here. Are we giving free coaching right now?
Oh shit, are we
Should
actually?
Should we
Fuck, I
charge
might
this
have to
right now?
paywall this fucking VOD. I'll delete it. Don't worry,
Hey
I'll
man,
delete it after.
DT Podcast Patreon boys. So yeah, y'all got the free sample. Now we're gonna have to lock it up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
There's somebody actually linked me. I didn't realize, but apparently Ninja has a $9.99 course on how to be a really good streamer. I'm actually tempted to buy
really?
it.
I'm interested actually. Yeah, is it a video?
Yeah, I think so, because there was like a preview video for it.
You know what's crazy actually? In his position, actually would be insanely profitable because I can only imagine how many affiliates are diluted with the delusion that they can be the next Ninja, and it's just like, oh yeah, like please, it's literally it's the diet fad industry. It's like there's an audience that is so hungry for the metaphorical magic pill that'll give me abs in 6 weeks or even or 6 days or whatever you want to use as an unrealistic time frame, and it's like that's literally magic pill. This for streaming, like it's Ninja #1 overall telling me what I need to do. I'm ready. It's literally a physical train. It's a physical trainer. Metaphor applied to.
Oh wow! Here. I thought this course was $10. Apparently, that's the Black Friday sale. This course is normally $100.
Hey,
$100 for your hour-long video.
90% off. Whoa!
1,113 students have enrolled in this course. That means that he's made, that's what, $1 million off of selling this kind of training? Yep. That's not bad.
No, that's easy money for sure.
Yeah.
Have to give him that, man. He's using his revenue very effectively.
I know what I'm gonna be
on that one.
Recording today.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I don't know how many people bought that on sale, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. Or no, wait, hold on. Did I say this wrong? I'm sorry. That would be $100,000, not $1 million. My bad. I thought it was. But yeah,
sorry.
But yeah, still pretty nice. Coffee. Still a cool $100K for recording an hour-long video. Although he does also have, hold on, 10 downloadable resources. So, and you get a certificate of completion. Holy shit, that would actually be worth it just for the stream content. So I could hang like a Ninja streaming course certificate of completion on my back fucking wall. That'd be funny as fuck. I might actually do that. It sounds good.
I'm not gonna lie. There is some easy content here. Like you like, can you imagine the clickbait of like we go through Ninja University and then we grade how better it made us or whatever. Oh my god.
Shit, yeah. This is like my before, my twinge, my before a lowly 1K viewer streamer, and then after 50K viewer streamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people in chat are saying that this website is kind of gimmicky, that it's always 90% off too, which could be true as well. So then he's only making $10,000, I guess. So, whittling away those profits.
So back to the coaching thing. You were you also sounded kind of neutral on it. That necessarily you were going into the elaboration.
I think it could be positive. Yeah. But
Yeah, well, how do you feel about this though? Okay, so I don't want to name names here, but I saw particularly 3 people who reacted sour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was Lyric and then 2 others I saw on Twitter that were like Omega Long at the idea of stream coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and they were and particularly one of them was like, really, it was luck. They dubbed it luck to grow, and I can kind of agree with that if you have to define particularly what luck could be perceived as relevant to stream grind and stream growth. I looked at it like it's more about being prepared for the opportunity, and you don't know when the opportunity is going to come, so be prepared for as many things as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Murphy's Law: what can't happen will happen. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't really prepared, particularly for Mario Maker, whenever that got crazy. Whenever that got crazy, 2015 for me. But like because I was, I had high execution in Mario games, and I already had the charisma to carry a conversation on my own. I wasn't like some, socially inept pro gamer who has no conversational carry. I guess I don't know how I really want to phrase that, honestly.
Social skills.
Yes, I could talk, right?
Yeah.
So when Mario Maker came, it was like the big streamers, they couldn't play Mario Maker on expert, so they can only do normal, but also had the charisma to back up my good play, and that led to me having the early monopoly on that directory, and that led to some massive growth on my end.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't prepared for that though. That was all spontaneous adaptation from prior skills I'd attained. Would you agree, or do you agree that it's luck, or is
not in the way that they say it? No.
Right.
So in general, I have very low opinions of streamers in terms of understanding anything. It is very much possible to get lucky. Or I shouldn't say get lucky. It's possible to achieve success without having any fucking idea how you got there. This is a very unfortunate phenomenon of the real world, and it happens a lot, where people will say like, hey, I don't know why, but I'm like, you hear this all the time amongst friends, especially like people into art, right? How many times you met a friend that's like, oh, I don't know, I'm just kind of good at drawing. I'm just, it's just for some reason I've got a knack for it. And it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of are good at drawing, or you are good at drawing, but you've also been doing it since you were 4 years old. Like this didn't just like randomly happen one day. A lot of people will achieve like a certain level of success, but they're not really cognizant of all the different factors that go into it. So, there is a separate skill for understanding why someone is successful and how to achieve that level of success than the skill of just becoming successful. And it seems very counterintuitive. Like it seems like, okay, well, if you've achieved success, you should know how to get there, but it's absolutely not true. And it's very funny. Like, and this applies to every single area of your life, even with something as simple as walking, right? Walking is something very few people could accurately describe all of the different things that are being used when you're walking. Like almost every single muscle in your body is being used simultaneously to propel you forward in space. It's a very complicated process, but we do it without even thinking about it, Much the same way that it's possible that certain people can become very popular without necessarily understanding why, or being able to replicate it, or being able to give other people advice on it. So with that said, the term luck, my favorite kind of saying is luck is opportunity meets preparation. So you can
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that definition. Yeah, definitely.
You can prepare your whole life for something so that when an opportunity arises, you're ready to pounce on it. And that's kind of what luck is, The idea that anybody can just luck into something completely is kind of dumb, For Lyric to say that he just completely lucked into everything is that's pretty stupid. I mean, Lyric is pretty entertaining to watch, very entertaining to watch. He's pretty good at a lot of the games that he plays. He has a certain attitude, a certain personality that people enjoy watching. Like, it's not all just luck. There's a set of reasons for why it happened. It's not like people randomly rolled the dice or rolled a die and picked his stream to watch one day. There's a reason why people gravitated towards him, So yeah, I mean, I think that it can be. I think there might be too many variables for a human to ever understand or for it to be accurately measured because we don't collect that kind of data. But I think there are ways to measure, how you can become successful as a streamer. And there are behaviors that you can kind of take from people that would make you more successful. I don't like the idea of just saying all of it is luck, because there is an incredible amount of work. And there are things that make you more successful than other people that you can actually, I think, kind of study and improve at when it comes to streaming.
Definitely. Also, on that note, you know what? The more I give it more thought here, the more I'm like, I don't really want to stream coaching, actually, because like, if you're a new streamer, there is definitely things. It's a little overwhelming. You go to the partner dashboard, and there's like a shit. Now that metrics are actually useful, for a long time, if y'all were not if y'all were new to the affiliate grind and whatnot, metrics used to be fucking useless. You used to have like no useful data of even who your audience was. Like I used to not even be able to answer the question here of like, what's the median age of my audience whenever I'm streaming? I had no clue. Where are they coming from? I had no clue. Like all of this data and more now is actually available and able to utilize via the metrics panel on a streamer dashboard. And there's just a lot of things to look into. And if a stream coach can give you the guidance to understand what to make of the information that's available to you on your metrics page, amongst other tips like that, I couldn't see it being a bad thing, honestly.
Yeah.
If it's ultimately you design to be a better broadcaster, I would imagine. So
I mean, it's kind of like I guess like maybe life coaching, although I don't know anything about that, so I'm totally guessing based on what I've seen in movies and heard. But like, it's one of those things where like it can be fine. Now again, like if somebody is like a quote unquote stream coach, I think there are valuable services they can offer you, but I also think there's a fuck ton of snake oil that can be sold there as well. So I mean, like as a profession or as a hypothesized profession that doesn't really exist yet, I could see it being really positive and really good, and I can also see it being total fucking garbage. So it really just depends on the individual selling the service, I guess.
Definitely. Well, I think it's a good. I think we cover all we can there.
Cool. Okay.
Well, we gotta. We're running low on time, so you tell me, Captain. You're piloting the ship here. You dictate there. You want to move on to the next topic, or you want to?
Yeah, we can hit this. We can hit this one up real light before we do the Reddit Q&A stuff.
Cool.
Okay. I think we
let's do it.
Because I streamed to the intro screen for like 10 minutes, so we should have around 25 minutes, I think, to go.
25 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Excellent.
This is an interesting topic, and I like actually we both have personal experience here because you were at a school that had uniforms and then one that didn't have uniforms, and I went to a school with uniforms.
Yes.
So this basically there is a Woodchurch High School in Merseyside in England. Merseyside. I'm gonna hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But in the United Kingdom, I guess, are basically there were certain designer coats that they were banning. So that students wouldn't be able to like flex their wealth on other students. And the idea, you know, as is often cited in these kinds of cases, is that the idea is that it's near Manchester. Cool. The idea is that you don't want kids to display massive disparities of wealth in the classroom because people get bullied for it. Something funny that I would like on the record here is that parents and students and teachers all seem to be in approval of this, but it was people on Twitter that got really upset about this. Just putting that out there in the record. But
really,
yeah.
I didn't catch that part actually.
Yeah, apparently, because I read two different articles about it. Apparently, most of the school and everybody associated with it was cool with it, but people on Twitter caught wind of it and got real fucking ass pained about it. But yeah, big surprise. But I guess this is kind of a broader conversation. I'm really curious. How do you feel about like dress codes? What do you think?
So if I can bring my experience to it first here, if y'all didn't know, I was born in Orlando, Florida, and then I moved to Louisiana when I was 12 years old. So I went to big city Orlando public schools from birth to 6th grade. And in Florida, middle school starts at 6th grade. So I did 6 years of schooling with no uniform. There were no uniforms in Florida at the time. I don't know if there are now or not, but like. And it was very obvious about the whole bullying and judging based off of your income level, which reflected by the clothes that you wore. Because in 2000, my last year at middle school in Florida, I think 2000 here. So everyone either wore Jinko jeans or the pipe jeans. It was the Jinko pipe jeans or Fubu. Those were the big things I saw there. If you didn't have those two brand pants, you were whack. It was obvious that you were poor. LOL, Omega Law, get rich, fam. Just buy good clothes, whatever, right? And you saw that income level reflected, and it got ridiculed by a lot of kids and whatnot. Very, very toxic. So then you fast forward, I move over to Louisiana, where there are statewide mandates for school uniforms. You have to wear khaki pants and a polo shirt. Only had 3 colors available to you, and the idea was you had to mask the income inequality or minimize bullying by differentiation of what you were wearing. And even then, though, the intention was that, but it still had loopholes in it, because particularly Abercrombie and Fitch is the one that comes to mind here, and Hollister, they both made brand khaki pants and brand polo shirts, and you could see the little emblem of the logo now as reflects. It's like, yeah, I can afford these, $60 pants and $40 shirts. And you saw that reflected again by all the richer kids ultimately. And then likewise here, you saw all the poor kids. I don't want to make it so racial here, but it kind of was literally racial. The white kids wore Abercrombie and Fitch. All the black kids wore Dickies brand pants from Walmart and wherever else. And you saw that reflected at that point. And it didn't really stop the problem here. Not only that, but due to those uniform standards here, there was a lot more emphasis on what you could express, which was shoes. Shoes became the be all end all. If you like, uniform was whatever, you don't care about that. But if you had like a new pair of J's on, the Narachis, Tims, you name it, and like shoes became the be all end all. And particularly here, this is big because in my middle school, if you remember the Nelly song, you know, Air Force Ones, rob me, or whatever it's called, right? Yeah, the Air Force One song from Nelly. They people would get the high top Air Force Ones because they had the big shoe tongue that would come in, that you can put in front of your front of your pants bottoms, your pants.
Yeah,
slats.
I remember the huge. Is that still the style these days with the big fucking tongue in front of your fucking pants? Do people still do that shit?
I don't know actually. I'm so look, I'm a introvert nerd in my computer realm all day long. I have no fucking clue. I don't go outside. I have no fucking clue, honestly. You gotta tell me, man. I don't go outside. I have no clue, honestly. I don't think so anymore, but I could be wrong, honestly. But yeah, point is, yeah, the expression was very, very heavy on the shoes. So no matter how far you regressed it, until you have like absolute uniformity, whatever you want to call it, kids will just adapt to emphasizing the one component of expression that you can do. I wouldn't even be surprised, or honestly, if you saw go as far as like, if you hypothetically had, you know, uniform shirts, pants, one brand only, shoes, dress shoes, one brand only, these kids would still say, okay, well, you know what I can express though? The mandated school ID with the lanyard. I know what I did. I damn sure got rid of the standard lanyard and would get like whatever cool one I can get. If there was like any kind of video game one, I would wear that one for sure because I want to flex, you know, what I was about off top. You know, because you're a teenager, you want it. You're developing your identity, so you're all about expression and whatever you can give that's a healthy, confident outlet you're gonna do and such. But yeah, point is, yeah, this is interesting here because at the peak of it, back to the UK school, the jacket that was popular is 600 pounds in cost. So there was a very steep cost here to these jackets that like pretty much if you didn't have, you know, the popular kids or the rich kids were definitely ridiculing the ones who didn't have it here. So like there was a point where as a parent it's kind of complicated because it's like, you know, I don't necessarily want to get this expensive ass jacket, but if it means my child doesn't get bullied anymore, you know, that kind of sucks. But I'm really happy to hear that at least, you know, any school that's taking anti-bullying seriously, I'm very ecstatic for. So
yeah. One of the things that I always felt really mixed on this as a kid. Well, as a kid, I was an idiot, but I remember my thoughts were always, and I actually still kind of think this, like on one end, reducing the number of possible stressors in school or possible outlets or avenues for people to be bullied is good. But on the other hand, it feels like the message is essentially saying that, like, well, in order to make people not hate each other, all of us have to be exactly the same. And I don't know how I feel about that dichotomy there. I guess it would come down to empirical research. Like, is it possible for kids to exist where there are poor kids and rich kids and them to get along? Because at some point it seems like because you can almost broaden this to like the whole college thing, right? Like, should extreme speech be hosted on colleges? And it's like, well, on one end, you don't want to make people uncomfortable and bullied, but on another end, isn't this kind of the time in your life where you should be able to get used to that? And I really wonder with kids, you know, what the correct answer is there. Because my goal would be not that I could put Nathan in a room with 20 other people and they all look the same so they're not bullying each other, but that I could put him in a room with 20 other poor kids and he wouldn't bully them. That would be like my hope coming out of school with him, you know?
Yeah. It's actually a really good question to ask, honestly. So I can agree with your perspective there. I just know that like I was bullied for being different. And man, that really ate into my self-worth until like I would say like legit like 7th grade until 11th grade. I was an insecure mental mess who was just chasing shallow popularity and approval of those who didn't even like me in the first place.
Yeah. So it definitely comes down to like, where do you draw the line? And I don't know, the answer to that is so fucking hard. Like, because like if I were to draw the line based on what I'm comfortable with, it would actually be really extreme.
Yeah, you tell me about it.
Well, because to compare it to another example, I went to an all-boys high school, and I cannot fucking fathom. I think, did we talk about this last week? I can't fathom going to a high school with fucking girls. I can't imagine how fucking distracting it would be. Like, for all of my high school life, I never worried about girl drama during school. That was always an after-school thing. I cannot imagine between class drama with girls.
You didn't go into that one. I didn't get what you meant when you said that last week, actually. Like, you couldn't fathom. I know if that meant, like, boner control, if that meant, like, what, like,
no, not boner control, but, like, that actually, like, between classes, I might have to talk to a girl that I'm either trying to fucking get with or have drama with, or like that whole because girls, when you're a teenager, this is like defining moments of your life is associated with the other sex. And the idea of trying to juggle all of that between like fucking like between English and physics and shit, like that just seems impossible to me, you know?
My, yeah, it is hyper distraction. You know how many of my friends like, spent their entire weekend trying to get laid? It was like they would
like
spend
at least
like,
at the very least, like that's out of school time. But to do that during school too, like between classes, like at lunch and shit, like holy fuck.
No, that was the whole thing. The whole thing was all of like, you know, breakfast and lunch period was just to like get all the girls cute that you could that were maybes or higher probabilities, and then execute, you know, the phone calls, the manipulation. Do you want to do something? Or you're the only one I want to talk to. They this was, I don't know, maybe it's like a South thing or not, but like these boys were just like the whole thing was to, like get their fuck list as long as they can get, and it was like all about how many girls can I smash in one school year. I know that sounds particularly toxic and or shallow of the whole entirety of like romance and whatnot, but like man, that was a very common thing in the South to see these boys and then brag about it, you know, during lunch and during class and during PE, especially PE.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Yeah. So it's like, so on one end, like I can understand, like I'll sit here and make arguments for like, well, maybe there shouldn't be a dress code, et cetera, et cetera. But then maybe reducing the distractions and focusing on the schooling is positive here. And these are other things like treating different people better, blah, 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 are things that you should focus in other areas where even though it's good to learn some things, you don't necessarily need to throw everything in one environment. So for instance, like learning how to survive like a knife fight or firefight, you know, these are probably positive life skills too, but I wouldn't necessarily want to send my kid to school where there are people with knives running down the hallways, you know, like trying to kill him. And it's like, well, he's also learning that as well. Like, okay, well, I don't know if you need to learn every single fucking life skill has to be done in a classroom if those things are going to distract from, you know, the actual learning or other skills too. I don't know where the drawing that line is appropriate, I guess. It's just really interesting to me, I guess.
Yeah, no, it is. And there's definitely, I would love to dive in a lot further here on the differences of other schools and other countries, because I find how Japan handles high school very interesting, actually. I'll have to get to another day, but if you just a brief summarization of it is that like middle school is mandatory, high school is optional. Like you don't, like how many unmotivated students can you think of here who were in high school because they had to be, rather than like going in the real world after middle school and saying, yeah, fuck school, I want to whatever, right? I want to, I don't know, fucking sell bootleg CDs and deal drugs, shit like that, or whatever. You know, again, whatever, right? Like whatever you want to do for your side hustle.
When you say optional, though, I'm willing to bet most Japanese students probably still go to high school, no?
No, they do. The okay, to elaborate further on that, yeah, it's high school is optional, and it has an entrance exam that you have to pass, which is very I don't know what's the word, stressful, demanding, tough.
I'm pretty sure it's a really big deal because in a lot of anime I've watched, they make a big deal out of it. So
yeah. But the idea is you give them the option. So I get in Japan they have different societal norms and like the standards of what you need to like make the family proud or make the society better by being the best you can be. You're much more I guess like intrigued to go to high school. But if such a system applied to USA, all the unmotivated ones, what I'm getting at here is all the unmotivated ones would say, you know, fuck high school because middle school was whack and lame anyway, and they'll go in the real world and work in the capitalism, and they'll, you know, McDonald's and flip burgers and make jack shit or whatever, and then like which is, I'm not saying McDonald's is actually a bad job at all whatsoever here, obviously. I wish the wages were better for them and whatnot, etc. Go Bernie Sanders. But you know, they would get in the real world, make nothing, really have no momentum as far as like getting anywhere else, as far as like, I need to get a car, I need to get a vehicle, I need to get out the house or whatever. And then they'd be like, okay, well, I've been in the real world, it sucks. I would rather get a better education. And then, you know, you do like 2 years of limbo, and then you get reinforced that, okay, higher education and being the better me I could be is probably a better alternative. And then they would come back to high school motivated from the difference of being in the real world early on.
God damn, dude. Do you have any fucking idea how, like... When I think back to, like, when I think of things like, you know, you can sign a contract at 18, you know, like, you can consent to sexual activity at 18. Like, 18 is when you're an adult. When I think back to how fucking stupid I was at 18, like, these things blow my mind. Like, the idea that I could sign a contract for anything at 18, the idea that I could take on hundreds of thousands of dollars of fucking school debt, and, like, none of these numbers mean anything to me. None of this, like, I have no life experience. I've, like, never really, you know, lived on my own and worked a job knowing that I have to work that for the rest of my life. Like, everything is still kind of a game when you're in your teens. I don't know if it would be possible, or maybe it would fuck maybe it would fuck the job markets too much or fuck all of our lives too much. But the idea of having to work for 2 years between either high school or college seems like it would be fucking invaluable for life experience, you know? Like, if you work a normal shit job, this is actually a really funny thing that I noticed with streamers a lot, is that a lot of streamers that got into streaming without working normal jobs first have no concept of like what money really means, you know? Yeah, like if I do certain activations, like I'm looking at these dollar amounts, like, hey, you know, if I still did carpet cleaning, I'm about to earn what I earned in half a year in like one weekend. Like, that's what that money means to me. And if I could work like a normal job, like if I could go to McDonald's and work that job, well, I did work at McDonald's. If I could have done that job for 2 years and then gone to high school or then gone to college, well, by college is almost too late, but like then gone to high school, you better fucking believe I'm going to study my fucking ass off. Like, holy shit. Like, you're telling me that I can get like an engineering degree or some shit that's going to pay me 70 a year instead of the 20 I make at fucking McDonald's, and the work is more fulfilling and more awesome. And, you know, like, oh my God, that life experience would be so fucking motivating to light a fire under your ass, I think.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm getting at here. Well, again, I'd love to dive into this whole thing further, but I think that the Japan model, if applied to USA, because I can think of so many unmotivated students who just like are at school because they're mandated to do so, but have no real world reflection of what value school brings to them because they've always been in school. You know, there's a lot going on there. I think I'm a big advocate for education reform. We really need that, to say the least, honestly.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, I agree with you full throttle on everything you brought up right there. As far as that goes.
Yeah, and then people that are into like their 30s and 40s that are still paying their I'm sorry, when I said 20 at McDonald's, I meant 20 a year, 20,000 a year, not $20 an hour. But sorry, yeah, there are still people like into their 30s and 40s and shit that are like paying off their student loans. Like, holy shit, that seems insane to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you brought back actually 2 points there I want to talk about there. One was it's crazy that you can be 18 years old and just like, you know, you can move away to some crazy university to a place you've never been to before, like at a whole other state, on pure impulse, coasting off of a student loan that could be upwards of, you know, 30K to 60K in some cases. That's pretty extreme. Yeah. And it's like, yo, you're making decade plus decisions at 18, and I was a fucking idiot at 18. I agree with you. I don't think I even
who the fuck was it? Like, and it's this is one of the most frustrating things in the world that I absolutely hate, is that if I could go back in time, if I had the opportunity to go back in time right now and give myself advice, I know that there is absolutely nothing I could say that I would believe back then. Even if I knew it was me from the fucking future, I would think that like, man, I must have become a square or some fucking moron. Like, fuck this shit. Like, this guy is so full of shit. Like, I don't know. It just feels like at 18, you're so, or at least.
Wait, can you say that again? Wait.
If I were to go back in time, if I was 17 and I came back in time.
So 28-year-old you was talking to 17-year-old
you. Yeah, and 17-year-old me was like, oh shit, that's me from the future. And me from the future is like, hey, listen, dude, I know that video games are a lot of fun and shit. You do real good on your test, and I'm proud of you, but man, you need to fucking do your goddamn fucking homework. There's no reason for you not to have a 3.5 GPA. Stop being such a lazy motherfucker. That at the time I would think like, man, I'm smart enough. I'll fucking figure shit out. Like, you obviously time travel back. Like, you figured it out. Like, I'll be good. Like, fuck you, man. What the fuck do you know? Like, I know that I would say that. And it's like, God, you're so fucking stupid. But there's nothing you can say. Like, you can tell, like, if you talk to every 30-year-old in the world, dude. Every 30-year-old in the world will tell you at 20, I was a fucking idiot. I was so fucking stupid at 20. It was hilarious how much I thought I knew about the world when I was 20 years old. But if you talk to every 18-year-old and you tell them that, they're like, fuck it, I'm different, you know? It's like, fuck, it's so frustrating, you know?
No, definitely that. I'm the same way. I could have easily been a 3.5. I wasn't even 3.5. I was a 2.6 GPA student by high school. I didn't, or by my senior year. I didn't give a shit at all. I didn't care about GPA. I probably put, you know, easily, let's just call it comfortably 20-to-1 ratio of effort and hours into getting better at Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout high school. Yeah. All 4 years than I ever did applying to any of the homework that actually mattered, or schoolwork in general. Like,
yep.
My high school environment was pretty toxic. I fucking hated it, dude.
Yeah. The only way I could like stay awake in fucking class, because if I wasn't sleeping through class, it was because I printed out something from like GameFAQs and was like reviewing or like min-maxing strats like in my fucking notebooks, like to keep myself awake. Like, oh god, it's such a fucking horrible student.
Yeah, I was abysmal. I had trash work ethic, trash study habits. You know, the whole 9 yards. We can get into this whole thing here, but I agree with you though. If I did go back in time and tell 17-year-old me where I am now and what I should have did, I don't know, honestly. I don't think I would even believe it. So
Yeah.
I don't even know. I would find it tough to swallow too, honestly, in hindsight.
Oh
And then
God.
there
And
was
I'm
one more
imagining
topic.
now, real quick. How old were
Okay.
you again? Are we the same age? You're 29.
I'm 29, yeah.
I
But I'm
cannot
almost 30.
imagine going to fucking school with smartphones. Dude, I would have fucking failed high school.
Oh,
If
the
fucking
distractions. Yeah.
smartphones, I can't even
These
imagine
days?
being in high school with a smartphone. Because back in my day, when I graduated, I think the most advanced thing we had were Blackberries. If you were really rich, I think you had a Blackberry.
Yeah, if you
I don't think
yeah,
iPhones
definitely.
even existed yet. And when did the first iPhone come out?
2007.
Okay, so when I graduated, yeah, it was when the very first iPhone was released. I can't imagine going to fucking high school today with fucking cell phones.
That
Holy
distraction,
shit!
dude. Always connected. Google on standby.
Oh my God, you could be
Browse whatever you
playing
want.
games. You could be reading anything you want. You could be fucking
Oh my
holy
God.
shit. That would be fucking impossible. I can't
Dude,
imagine.
I was
I
already
would die, dude.
listen. I was already unproductive with PSP. Like I
Uh-huh.
had the PSP and I would just archive, I had manga on the Memory Stick Pro Duo that I would read in class. I had like videos I would convert to MP4 on the PSP to watch as well.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was my movie dump thing I would do. It was crazy. Yeah, I was
Even that
already unproductive with
shitty
PSP.
fucking Phoenix game I had on my fucking TI-83, I would sit and play that shit during like college. Oh my God. I'm so
Dude,
lucky
yeah.
I was born at exactly the time I was. Okay, that's luck. Because I didn't choose when I was born. So I will say that being born in the year that I was born was very lucky.
Yeah.
Because, oh my
That's
fucking
another
God.
topic I would love to get into in a later podcast is the fact that I do think honestly, in a certain perspective here, we are the master generation because me
Grew
and
up
you
with the
are
internet and everything. And
we grew up when the internet was tangible in teenage years, so we were forced to do physical social interaction as a child to develop basic social skills.
Mhm.
Because I'm seeing now a rise in like those like generations who was born post 2000 with the internet already a thing.
Yeah.
You know, their whole uprising is like post internet, so they have texting as their safety bubble. So whereas me and you, when we were a kid, going to a party meant playing with kids and making strangers into friends.
I don't
For
even know,
them,
like,
by 10, they're texting already. They're already
how did
texting.
that
So
even work back in our day? Like, if we were meeting somewhere, I don't even know how we found each other. Because it's like, you couldn't, like, in early high school, not everybody even had a cell phone. So you couldn't call your friends, like, to see where you are. I guess we just, like, it's like we're like spaceships. Like, you just send them off and hope that they, like,
we
meet on the
scale.
other side of the moon. Like, what the fuck? How do we even find each
listen.
other?
Humans are powerful animals, and we scale to the demand of the skill required here. So, I can think back here. I can think back even as far back as like 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 10 phone numbers memorized. Here I am now. That skill died because I
Yeah.
don't fucking memorize shit anymore. The only number I even remember now is my mom's phone number because it hasn't changed in fucking 15 years.
Yeah.
But
You'd have to
like,
call
yeah,
like friends' houses and shit, and if their mom picked up, then you just had to like guess where they were. Maybe he's at Alex's, like we could either call there or drive there or find him. Like, holy shit. That's like unfathomable, dude.
I don't know. It was just like I felt like you the accountability was higher, and it wasn't considered. Now it's considered extraordinary, so it's not required. But back then, that was not. It wasn't extraordinary. It was expected.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big thing here about adaptability with that now. But yeah, you're right though. Just I hope they're gonna be there. I hope they're gonna meet me there.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. And
How
that could be because we
insane.
have the internet now makes time more accountable because you can just do more things because we know more now. I guess maybe.
Or like, and even like random shit. I remember we had an Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, if I want to know any piece of information, dude, I'm so lucky I exist where I am. Because everybody thinks I know so much shit. And I know a decent amount of shit, but I'm also really fucking lazy. If I have to open a book to get some piece of information, I'm probably never going to fucking know it. If you had like random questions that you had to ask, you could like never settle these debates because you couldn't just like Google it, like Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and shit. And the very early ages of Google was like just starting, but like largely you had to like open a fucking book and shit. You had to go out. Yeah. Or like when you were trying to find directions to places, you would have to like print off MapQuest and shit. Oh man, dude.
I remember that. Yeah, the
I don't know.
MapQuest.
And if you got like lost, you'd have to actually go to a gas station and buy the fucking books that look like
the state map. Yeah,
that look like neural networks of the human fucking brain. And you're like trying to find like the mile marker you're on the fucking map, and it's like, okay, I think
the
if I
mile
follow,
markers.
holy
Oh,
shit,
God.
I don't even know how we could survive back then. It was like a fucking post-apocalyptic fucking world.
I couldn't even imagine, dude. Can you imagine going through downtown Houston with like in fucking 97, dude? Like,
Yeah,
dude,
holy
like
shit,
there's a
trying to
different
find
exit every
anything.
4 seconds.
Mhm.
Oh my god, crazy. But no, yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, we're a master generation because we had the internet in teenagehood. So we were forced to do socializing physically properly before the internet modernized our utility of those skills. And I feel like that utility is weakened now for a new generation. And I know I sound like an old man herder. It was better back in my day, but I have seen this witness firsthand because when I was a waiter at a restaurant for 8 years, I have seen what the kids were doing now, and yeah, they are definitely they're like I've seen young couples, 16-year-olds, go eat out at Chili's when I waited on them, and they weren't talking. It was just texting the whole time, and I find that kind of like I couldn't wait anymore. I'm like, if I'm physically here with you, I feel like I would want to talk with you, but I don't. To me, it's kind of a disconnect there at that point with that as well. But
yeah,
anyways,
I mean,
we were
there
talking about
are
that.
definitely pros and cons for sure. Yeah, physical interaction versus internet interaction. Man, I can't underrate, and I don't know how many people, because I see strange things sometimes, like physical, there is no replacement for physical interaction. Like it really is like a very special, unique thing. Like humans communicate so much more, even in person, and even video chatting isn't the same, but like being able to actually touch somebody and be near somebody is like a much different experience than doing it via a camera. It's a whole different thing.
You're not getting there. Yeah, we have human brains are very, very complicated, and we have a lot of neural centers dedicated to communication, to say the least, right?
Small cues.
I mean, even the fact that isn't there a region of the brain specifically for storing how faces look, right? Like,
I feel like I've heard that before. It might be some section of the hippocampus or something, but yeah.
Like if there was like two labs, there was two yellow labs, and they have no differentiation in the body, but we can tell they're labs. We can't tell exactly which one's which, if they're identical twin labs or whatever. But that's because we lack that component of the brain that a dog would have, for example, or whatever, to like see the difference that may be very, very subtle and past the human observation. And in the same sense, though, we can look at a human and say, yeah, like I can see the differences here and whatnot. There's like something going on there.
Yeah, wasn't there? I feel like I wish I had this offhand. I feel like I read a study a long time ago where like
I read about before,
where like black people can differentiate other black people easier than white people can, and white people can differentiate other white people easier than black people can, and Asian people. Yeah. I feel like I read a study on this before that like to a white person, like all Asian or black people look very similar. To an Asian person, like all white people, black people look very similar. I'll find this at some point later today in stream. But yeah,
it was a really cool topic actually, and there was a guy who like trained that portion of his brain because a brain's a muscle and you can train it to whatever, right? And like he was able to like really go ham on the whole thing here. It was really, really cool. Maybe it's a clickbait video I saw in the past here, but I found that topic interesting regardless though. And yeah, but that definitely for sure. And then real briefly here, you were talking about way back here, back to the whole school UK ban with the uniforms and whatnot.
That topic, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Real quick here though. You're bringing up how you had real world reflection of the job market, and you had a monetary value tethered to all the opportunities you have now in streaming because you worked at McDonald's and had real jobs part of this and whatnot to bring reflection to the work ethic and everything else. And I agree, it's actually going to be a big rising problem here now. I do think, I say big rising, it'll be a problem. I'm not sure of the quantity of it and whatnot, but I imagine there's a lot of kids now who want to be the next Ninja, who want to be the next big viral Fortnite streamer. They want to be, they're infatuated with the idea of being a successful broadcaster.
My kid does
Whereas
this.
I feel like most people who are such now, that's a byproduct of what they were doing. Like Ninja wanted to be a pro Halo player, if I recall correctly, and that led to a decade later of grinding into being what he is now. But he didn't go out there initially to be a successful streamer. I don't think anyone really did because occupation wasn't really even there a decade ago. So it's like you're seeing these kids now who, they're like age 16, I want to be a pro gamer or I want to be a pro broadcaster, or I want to be a pro streamer. And they don't have that real world, like, I don't know, the real world work experience to bring into it. So it's like, what do you talk about other than like the game you play? You bring no real world reflection to your audience, I would imagine, right? Like you're only in Twitch land.
Oh, right? I mean, like, I think that totally depends on what type of broadcasting you do. But, like, I would argue that, like, because there are different paths to success, right? Where some people are just kind of funny and some people, play games really well. But I would argue that, like, like, one of the reasons why I think I got to the level of success I have was because of my life experiences, because sharing those has been kind of like a big part of growing my stream. And I've had a pretty funny collection of experiences. But then there are other people, I'm not trying to talk shit or anything, but like I don't think that somebody like Shroud got popular that way, right? Like Shroud got that way because he's really fucking good at games. I hope I'm not missing like some huge like life talk that Shroud gave or some shit. But like I'm pretty sure that, like that, you know, there are a lot of people like, or I don't think Lyric tends to share a lot of very personal stuff, right? He's just an entertaining guy to watch and is good at and decent at games as well, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I think yeah, so I mean I don't think you necessarily need that, but I mean that can be a component, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's just, you know, you're right. You don't. It doesn't. It's not required, but I think it will lead to some a lot of misleading people who are going to hop in and think or hop in for success as opposed to being motivated to do whatever thing will bring the success.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I've never. I have not. I don't think I've ever seen anyone say, you know, I'm going to be a successful broadcaster, and then they just like go out and that the goal is success. That to me, that sounds like Logan Paul mentality. Like I want to be the #1 entertainer of the world, and it's like that's tethered to dependency of your audience. And it's like, well, what are you executing at that point? And at that point, it's like all you're chasing is like, if that's your pure goal, then you're chasing just like clickbait nonsense to an ever evolving meta until people catch on that your meta is meta. And at that point,
Sure.
you know, yeah, you're just like you're in the rabbit hole at that point, I would say.
Okay, to keep things reasonable, I'll let you go for one Reddit question. Sorry, guys, we got
one Reddit. Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, y'all. I need to like shut up more often and like get past topics further. I apologize.
No, it's all good. There had a lot of good conversation.
I mean, I had like there was like, and by the way, shout out here. There were a lot of good questions here. There was like I had 9 here in my my maybe pile. One. Oh fuck. Okay. Shit. Okay, find the best one here. Okay, so I'm a sucker for sociology, right? I love diving into the habits of people, particularly ones that we're savvy in, like the Twitch ecosystem and whatnot. So I really want to hop in this one further because I'd actually love to hear your take on this here. And this one, there was a question here that was targeted at me, but I definitely can think of apply to you here too here. And the question was, how does it feel being one of the few left-leaning voices, aka voices of reason, their words, in an increasingly toxic right-wing gamer bro sphere? I can answer that question here, but I really want to stop on that here again. Increasingly toxic right-wing gamer bro sphere. Is that really the state of gaming?
I feel like gaming politics are probably shifting left, but depending on the communities you hang out with, it probably feels like it's getting worse. So like if you spend a lot of time, for instance, reading Kotaku in action or looking at the reactions to certain YouTube comment sections and certain videos or certain Twitter threads, you're probably going to be left with a very, very, very bad impression. So like I just visited Kotaku in action right now, and one of the most upvoted threads has to do with Jordan Peterson. So I mean like, yeah, I mean, depending on the communities you hang out with, it can probably seem pretty fucking bad. But I'd probably say that our society in general is pushing a little bit more to the left. Although maybe we might be pulling back a little bit in the era of kind of Trump and authoritarianism in general in the West. But I mean, I would hope that the gaming communities in general are getting a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of like a vocal minority more so than a majority thing.
Yeah.
And I actually would want to say maybe there's a fair amount of blame here on the YouTube algorithm because I hear it's very easy. Like I think this was done in an experiment at one time here. In the modern iteration of the YouTube algorithm, you're able to very easily deviate from a core draw like gaming into alt-right content or like anything or right-wing content in general here. It's very easy to get put into that as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, especially if you did anything related to Gamergate. Like you got sucked right into that shit very quickly.
Yeah. But I guess, okay, to answer the question, how does it feel? I don't know. It feels native to who I am, honestly. I'm trying to think how to really word that one here. I don't know. The perception of this question is what intrigued me more than the answer to the question itself here. I'm not sure if I would. I don't feel like I'm really that alone. I feel like the things that I stand for are really common sense, and a lot of them are just very populist policies, and that perhaps more so it's the framing of those things by manipulative sources leads to others not being involved in it. And also there's a very toxic trend of like overemphasis on labels of things. Like if you're liberal, what does that mean? If you're an SJW, like what does it even mean in 2018? You're SJW. Like what, like in what degree does that mean? Does that mean I'm authoritarian left and I'm the free speech warrior? Or does that like what, you know what I mean? Like you see the words tossed out so freaking often that it's like fiscal conservative, you're a conservative except whenever the budget for anything involving government spending is out of control under Republicans and whatnot. It's like what are you? Like these labels Yeah.
Oh man, real quick, actually, it's very interesting. Somebody just said something in my chat that was really, really wrong. Prior to Gamergate, gaming was apolitical mostly, and now all we're seeing is the political groups coalesce. So more already right-wing gamers are joining communities. So more already like Kotaku action, giving the appearance of the gaming community being more toxic. So I don't remember if I don't know if you remember. Does the name Jack Thompson mean anything to you?
Yeah, Jack. Oh, I can flex here. Yeah, Jack Thompson is the attorney who was advocating for like he was always a guy saying that game violence is real and that games are toxic, and he was always the guy who was shitting hardcore on Rockstar
Yep,
and
rap
GTA San
music and
Andreas.
Howard Stern and all that. Yeah.
All the blame deflection. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
I
Jack
don't know if you
Thompson,
guys
yeah.
remember this, but a long time ago, before Gamergate and shit, gamers were generally very fucking anti-Republican. Because Republicans were usually the people that were like rallying against this kind of like violent activity, violence in video game, cultural degeneracy or whatever. That a long time ago,
It's the media.
Yep. Yeah, generally a long time ago.
Watching all these R-rated movies and playing these crazy games, I just don't understand what to do.
Yep. Yeah, that was generally what gamers would typically rally against, and especially with the advent of games like fucking Doom and shit, where you'd see like this unprecedented level of violence, and then when GTA and shit came out, unprecedented levels of violence. I think gaming communities leaned pretty hard, like anti-Republican, anti-conservative, anti-evangelical or religious kind of shit, because these were typically people rallying against it. So it's interesting to see that after Gamergate happened and SJW shit started, that it seemed like the main opinion of gaming community just kind of flipped, where now all of a sudden we went from being, like the edgy thing online was to be like an anti-Christian atheist that, fuck conservatives and shit, and we want to like do like new culture, counterculture shit, tattoos and earrings and whatever, all, crazy shit. But now like the new kind of like hip thing is to jerk off like people like Jordan Peterson, who are like these Christian conservative establishment people. It's very strange how that like completely fucking 180'd. That now like the counterculture revolutionary thing is to be cool with people like Jordan Peterson, and it's like that's interesting how that changed like very like relatively quickly within like a 5 to 10 year period, and it completely fucking 180. Like holy shit.
Yeah, there's a lot that we dive into there because there's definitely there's a pretty strong basis backing that Jordan Peterson's rise is because of he becomes like the surrogate father figure for a lot of these young men who are very impressionable. So that's something to dive into further on a different topic. Tension is there, but when you bring up the blaming on the media thing, can we just take a second here and really bring up what is the peak facepalm of that entirety of blaming media and games on the violence that occurs in the real world right now, as opposed to gun violence? Whenever the Jacksonville shooting, which again, bless everyone who passed from that, it's very unfortunate here. Could you believe that at the Jacksonville shooting, that there was still deflection to blame media for that shooting? At a Madden NFL game tournament, they were still like, I think it's the games. And it's like, dude, they were playing Madden. They didn't tackle. No one tackled each other at the thing. The guy came in there and shot.
Gamers don't talk about this. But do you remember when there was that like the privated video? It wasn't private, but it was the unlisted video that was posted on the official, I think it was the official White House YouTube page.
Oh no, I didn't hear about this. No,
what? Shit! Does anybody have a link to this? Oh no. YouTube White House video game violence.
You think it's not deleted by now?
I don't know. It was like there was a video. It was like a montage of like violent video game footage. It was like a real
that wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, awesome. I found it. I'm posting in both chats.
Oh, yeah. Dude, movie time. Let's go.
Movie time. Like a minute and 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll just play some of this. I can't bring up our Oh wait, hold on. I can actually.
No, I can watch your stream, and you can just talk to me whenever the video's done. I'll cut out early.
Okay, gotcha.
Or you could give me the link and I can play on my own.
I don't know how to get rid of your webcam thing on the thing. Oh wait.
Okay. Well, I see the game now. I see your the video now.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, I sent it to you though, if you wanna.
All right, cool. All right, you just let me know when you start it.
Gotcha. All right, I'm starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Shit. Bowman! So that's that.
Fucking even in their demo reels, Bethesda games look like such fucking shit. Oh my
Dude, I
god.
know, it looks... Oh my god, dude, it looks so bad.
Damn, there you go.
Wow. Okay, first off, this is actually amazing. I can't believe they actually have, not only is it unlisted, but then, and not private, but then it's kept on and not deleted yet from March this year. And then comments are on. This is actually like the perfect storm. Like usually these kind of things, when you stumble upon this kind of video, it's always a mirror on somewhere other than YouTube, because YouTube has long since deleted it. And the comments have been turned off or deleted. So you're kind of late to the party.
Yeah.
But the party is still here. You can literally see the time chamber of reaction.
Yep.
And that dislike ratio, oh my god. Dude. I mean, yeah, it's justified here, but holy shit.
And this is the official White House YouTube account. Like this is not like some random memer account.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't believe this was real unless I saw that verified check mark next to White House. Not gonna lie to you. Like seriously. God, that is absolutely crazy, dude. Like, but yeah, the deflection, man, this is just NRA. I don't know, particularly it's NRA, but like just you already know, man. This is deflection from the lack of will to do gun reform, or even common sense gun reform, or any kind of measure of gun reform. And yeah, let's just deflect it on something else at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, what is even like what's even the argument here that
no one knows. I don't know if this was ever publicly discussed before what they used it for. I think Trump might have referenced it once, talking about how he'd seen something about a lot of violent video games, but I don't think it was ever there was like an official presentation or anything publicly.
Yeah, it was a tweet. What I recall here is that the reaction to Jacksonville, he was like, we should really was it Jacksonville or was it a different shooting? I don't remember. It might have been because there was the school shooting in May. Forgive me, I forgot the name of the school, but Parkland, is that what it was? Parkland School. The big one with David Hoff and all of them. You had that shooting in May 2018. You had like another shooting and I think it was Kansas. It was like a young kid who was like a 12-year-old student who killed somebody. You had that one happen. Yeah, like two happened that week or whatever, back in like June, July time frame. And then you had the Jacksonville one recently in September, early September or late August. And in reaction to one of those shootings, he said something really comical, like, yeah, these violent video games are crazy, but really need to have some kind of like age restriction on them. Like, you know, he's like saying we need like a function like the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, which already exists and does what he's calling for here. So it's just like a typical like low information Trump tweet calling for action to a thing that already exists now. So it's just like
that nothing would ever come of or whatever.
Surface level deflection when it's already a thing at this point, but whatever. But yeah, there was that. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't. Thank you for showing me that. I have to when we get done here, I'm gonna have to read those comments. I want to hop into that shitstorm of rage right there. It'd be really fun to look at.
Yeah. Okay. I think we hit all of our major topics. We'll do more Reddit questions next time.
Definitely.
The first topic here ended up going on way longer than I thought it would. I'm sorry. But that's
it was a fun topic here.
Yeah.
And also you bring up here next week or next time you briefly dab into Bethesda. There's actually been a lot of Bethesda news this week involving the reception of Fallout 76.
Oh my god!
I would love to get on that next week here because
that could be an hour-long topic of everything fucking wrong with major game studios today. Holy shit! Did you ever see that one story where Bethesda sued somebody for stealing their code and they knew that it was stolen from them because they had a glitch that was the same as in one of their engines? That was like, God, I think it was in the actual court filings. Like, we know this is our code because it was the exact same fucking bug or whatever. Oh shit!
No,
dude.
I didn't know that. Look, mine was very surface level here. There were two montages of Fallout 76 bugs. I watched both videos on my stream because I was like, Omega Law, look at the reception here, right? And I go back the next day, both videos are deleted. They're copyright claimed by some circuit company on behalf of Bethesda. I'm just like, look at the snowflakes. They're so mad at the negative press. Omega Law.
Oh,
dude,
man,
yes, I wanted to get. We
so many of those bugs apparently came literally from Fallout 4. Like, it was the exact same fucking unpatched bugs. Like, holy shit. Yeah.
And rest in peace, y'all. One of the things I'm talking about here in question is the Crobe Cat Sweet Little Lies involving Todd Howard. It's like a little cute little song. That montage is banger because this is all the lies that Todd Howard and company have said with false promises on Bethesda over the last like decade plus. That video got taken down recently because of like that was one of the Crossfire videos that got shot down from all the butthurt from all the negative reception of Fallout 76. So yeah, we're mad boys. Cropcast are my favorite YouTube people, so I'm really sad about that. But yeah, we should definitely hop on Bethesda next week. I'd love to talk further about that, honestly.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, that'll probably be one of our topics this time. We'll try to work it in.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining us. We're here every Wednesday morning, very, very early morning. Okay.
Yeah.
1 p.m. EST, I think. Right? Is that when we start?
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah.
12 CST, 10 PST. That's probably 8 or 9 o'clock mainland European. No one cares about you guys, but for the Americans out there, we love you all very much. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely, man. Thank you all again. It was yeah. What's up?
Oh, and then also we are this should be syndicated now across Spotify. I should have all this memorized. I'm pretty sure it's on Spotify. I'm pretty sure it's on Google Play. There's like an RSS feed now for it. Eventually my website will have it like destiny.gg/podcast, and all of the links will be there if you're looking for like syndicated. It might actually already be up. Yeah, it's on SoundCloud as well. But eventually, if you go to destiny.gg/podcast, I think you'll see some of it there, and then that page will be done soon. But yeah, so yeah, that's so you can find us online. Cool.
Yeah, listen to us, man. No, thank you again. As always, Destiny, it's a pleasure to be on the podcast. Destiny audience, I'm so happy to that I've been welcomed, and I look forward to helping, just continuing to get better at the craft and whatnot. And again, thank you, Destiny, for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
To be.
I'll catch you guys next week.
All right, later, y'all.